everybody? Welcome back to the W.A.D.E Concept Podcast. I'm back and got a special guest in the building today. Let me introduce you to my boy, Neil Gannaway. Neil, how
How's
you
it
doing,
going?
man?
Doing good,
well?
man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you guys don't know, and which I'm sure you don't, Neil and I played football together in college. That's one of my really good friends, and he was in the area, so I'm blessed to have him on the show. We're gonna talk about a lot of things.
You moved down here.
Yeah. So I moved to I'm sure you guys, like I said, I've talked about it. I moved to Kissimmee, Florida. Neil lives in Orlando, so it was easy to get him on the podcast. And like I said, he's one of my good friends, so we're gonna have a good time. What I wanted to start with is kind of why you live in Florida, Neil. Like, what brought you down here, and kind of what you're doing right now, just to let the people know what's going on with you.
Yeah, of course. So obviously, like you said, we played football together. From Birmingham, we went to school in Tennessee. That's where we met, which was awesome. Shout out Tech and TTU.
Oh yeah, shout out Tennessee Tech, the old college.
So we played football, and then I stayed my 5th year and was able to have the opportunity to walk on the golf team. Played 3 semesters of golf, and then moved down here because my whole mom's side of the family lives down here. So pursuing a professional golf career, turned pro about a year ago. Been down here about a year, so living it, loving it. But
nice.
It's a grind, just like anything, but it's a lot of fun. It's good.
Sure. That's good, man. Yeah, man. I'm excited to be down here. One, because, it's a different environment for me. I've never lived in Florida before, and neither I don't think is Neil. So we're both kind of new fish in a big pond here, but we're getting it done, man.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do, though, I wanted to talk about a lot of things on the podcast today. So I told a lot of you guys that today was going to be our college football podcast, and it is. But it's going to be more, kind of our experience in college, because we both played college football, not at the highest level like the Alabamas and the SEC and those type of things, which I shouldn't even have said Alabama. We're not going to go there. But
Roll Tide.
Oh, Jesus. But, yeah, we had our experience there. And then I do want to talk about, current college football and what I think about the landscape and why it's doing so well compared to a lot of other things like the NFL at the time. So, let's just get right into it. So, shoot, when was our freshman year?
2011.
2011. So
Fall of
we
2011.
started playing college football in 2011, and like I said, we met at Tennessee Tech, and this dude ran some of the crisp. We both played wide receiver. This dude ran some of the most crisp routes, had the nicest hands, and I had never played receiver before at the time. I don't know if you. I played college. I played quarterback in high school, so this was my first time doing it, and I thought, I came from a smaller school in Tennessee, and Neil came from a pretty big school in Alabama, so I was like, man, I'm better than everybody else on the field. Like, at the time, I didn't know the difference. Excuse me, my phone's going off. I didn't know the difference. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to go out here and dominate everyone.
Just jump right in.
Right? And I'm just going to get on the field and just go. And then I get on the field, and it was, even at that level, it was a whole new, talent level.
New level, new experience. It's like, Coach Brown always said, he said, something that I took with it is like, you may think you're the guy, but everybody here was their guy on their team also. So the competition, each level raises and raises. And, speaking of the NFL, those NFL guys are the best. It's some of the best athletes in the world.
Ridiculous.
They're dumb. They're just different
It's the most
humans.
ridiculous thing. If you watch a guy our size, and, we were decent athletes. We ran 4.6 40s, 4.7 40s, whatever it was. A guy our size and bigger.
Yeah.
Running 4.3 40s, bench pressing what looks like to be a house. It's ridiculous.
Stupid. Defies physics. Don't understand it.
No. And so,
God-given.
we get into Tennessee Tech and we, start this college football career off, and there were so many different factors, not just in football, but outside of football that at least I learned, and I'm sure you did as well. First off, we were away from home for the first time, and a lot of people experienced that their freshman years and going to school and everything. And it was so nice to have a bunch of guys around me that at least I could kind of latch on to and say, hey, at least we have this one common interest. And outside of that, you can start out, and it's just any level of football, you can have that kind of camaraderie and friendship, and it helps a lot, especially when you're away from home. And a guy like me, I came from, and I'd always, wanted to almost get out of, I knew I didn't want to live where I grew up when I grew up. So for me to go outside of that, my town was probably 5,000 people. So for me to get outside of it, it was kind of a culture shock just to be around different people.
It's a big growing experience.
Yeah. So it was a good experience for me, but on the playing side of things, it hit me right in the face because and my head coach in high school told me this. He told me, it wouldn't be the same when I got to college because I thought I was better
Yeah.
Being an immature 18-year-old, I thought I was better than Tennessee Tech. I was a Tennessee guy. Like, I'm going to play for the Vols, all this.
Of course.
Turns
I
out,
play for Alabama.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it turns out, when kind of sometimes that reality hits you, you don't know what to do with it. And I remember,
it hits you right in the face.
Did you get redshirted our freshman year?
I did not.
So I did. I remember, and I remember it took a big toll. You were there, like you saw kind of it made a big difference for me.
Well, yeah, it's just a huge shock. Like, you get in, you think you're the guy, like you want to get and start playing right away. You want to start, you want to beat everybody in your position out, and then they're like, they hit you with a red shirt. Like, you need to mature and get stronger and get faster and work on stuff. And there's some guys maybe that are ahead of you, and it's honestly, and you can attest to this. I know some guys that did it on our team. They thought it was a blessing because they absolutely got to get bigger and stronger and faster and learn the system and learn kind of what the expectation is, and just the overall experience of college, and then being a collegiate athlete as well.
Yeah.
So
see, that's the part I struggled with, and this podcast is all about me being dead honest with you guys about my life, about things that I think that are going on in the world around me. And at that time in my life, it shook me up pretty bad because I liked going to school, for certain parts. I really liked going to English class. I really liked writing papers and doing that whole thing. But I was never really big into school. And so when I got redshirted, I was going to say, this.
I do.
No, we'll get into that. No, for sure. Because I was never someone that could focus on something I just didn't care about.
Exactly.
And so when I got redshirted and was told I'm not going to play at all, like you're not doing anything.
What's the point? Now what do you do?
Right. So it took a toll on me, and I think my GPA dropped to like a 1.8.
The Office may have had something to do with that too.
Right. Oh, yes. I did watch The Office nonstop. Like, people would go home because we were at a community college, so people would go home on the weekends, and even sometimes Neil and other players if we didn't have a game. Bro, I was sticking in that dorm room and just smashing every freaking cafeteria food I could find and watching Office from
chicken
season
fingers,
1.
Cinnapie.
Oh, dude, just the chicken finger sandwiches that would like come with a full like gallon of mayonnaise and mustard on them. Oh, it was the worst. But
5,000 calories in one sitting.
Low key the best though. But no, at that point, I had two options, and I remember, it was one of those things where you're alone a lot of the time especially when you're not practicing as much and you're not going to away games, you're doing those things. So I had two options at that point, and like you said, some guys it's a huge blessing.
Yeah.
And I think toward the middle of the year, I started to realize like this could be a blessing for me because I was a smaller guy, and started to get in the weight room and started to realize that things, weren't as bad as I made them out to be. And I'm a very kind of emotional person when it comes to if something bad happens or something good happens. I react at that time. Sometimes you got to sit back and okay, that's what it is. We're gonna do something else. But as the time went on and as we were in college more. I think both of us grew as players, as people.
Yeah, you got to grow. It's kind of it's a humbling experience. I mean, I'm sure you saw. I mean, I got hurt 4 games later, so it was humbling. I was almost redshirted too, so it was essentially the same thing. But I mean, I got a little taste of the field. But it's maturing. It's a humbling experience. You grow up. You learn kind of who you are. Like you said, you're away from your family and everything. But it's good to have the guys. And I mean, I've been asked this. Do you miss it?
That's what I was going to ask you, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I don't miss the practices too much. I mean, not that they were bad. It's just football practice. Right. But I mean, the biggest thing I miss the guys, and we weren't necessarily in Greek life, but our football was our fraternity of guys. Sure. And I mean, some of my best friends, you included. I mean, just you just keep in touch with those guys. It's just you have your high school buddies, you have your group of high school buddies, but you always have your football guys, which it's just different, and it's kind of you just went through it all together, but you can relate to it, and it helps you grow not only as a person individually, but also together. You both can grow. Like everybody grows together, I feel like.
Right.
So it was
for me, and this is what you said, just kind of to add on to what you said. A lot of the guys that did become almost like brothers to me, you included, and other guys that I don't keep in contact as much as I did when we were in college, but I could call up tomorrow. Yeah. And say, hey, I'm coming through your town, like, and they'd be like, all right, cool, I got a place for you.
Hit me up.
Yeah, like it's such, and it's the same thing with everything. If you're with that group of people for so long, but it was such a good kind of feeling to have a family outside of the family where my hometown, and like from there, like I said, we started to kind of get into our groove. We played a little bit, and I remember, man, I started playing games. Geez, it felt like forever, but finally we would go on the road and we would have all these cool times with the guys, and that's the thing I missed, as like you said, the most too. That, and just because another thing, and I'm shouting out my high school coach a lot, but he's a really, really knowledgeable, really wise guy, and he told me when I didn't, when the D1 offers didn't come, and I ended up playing at Tech, he goes, don't be discouraged by how small it is. Like if you really love, this is where you'll find out if you really love the game of football. And for guys out there that aren't playing, big time Division I football, that's not just all it is. And I realized that almost after the fact, and a lot of the times you don't really know when you're in the moment until it's after it's over, after it's gone. And I didn't realize how much fun it was just to play football.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if this is the same for you, but for me, it was, I got to get this scholarship because I wasn't on scholarship when we got there. So I was like, I got to get the scholarship. I got to, I got to get my schoolwork done. I got to, watch film. And it almost felt not overwhelming, but to a point where it was a job.
Absolutely.
And I didn't particularly like every single day of the job. And it started to, I started to get away from what I really loved about football, which was just playing.
You didn't love the 6 a.m. workouts?
Dude, I didn't love 6 a.m. workouts. I didn't love getting my ass chewed every single film session because of the 20 things I did wrong. Yeah. Because I never, you when you're the guy, especially on your small high school team, you're like, psh, it's this film session, man. Let me go out and here and just do this.
Everything gets overlooked.
Oh, yeah. And then, just
they'll coach you, but to an extent in high school. Everything. If you're the guy, if you're, but right. In college, they wanted it perfect. But it's what you had to be. Like you said, it was a job, and it's their business, and it's their livelihood also. So we got to win football games.
I remember the first time, actually, I think, and I'm going to tell this story, but I don't know if you, I don't know where you're going with this.
Go ahead.
So the first time, like Neil and I knew each other our freshman year. I got redshirted. Neil actually got to play a little bit, and like you said, you got hurt. But it was more of the next year into our redshirt freshman year, your sophomore years. We really started to kind of bond. It was because, and I remember the trip, we on the weight trips would room together.
Yeah.
They would put us in rooms together, and I remember I wasn't too liked our freshman year. I had a little bit of beef, and it wasn't anything I particularly did. It was just kind of the way I came off, I guess, and just things that
I was fine with. It didn't
happened.
bother me.
It is what it is. But I remember it took me a while to get into that. Yeah, of course, and just in one locker room, too much. But I remember, redshirt freshman year, I finally kind of got over with the guys, and we were finally a team. And I remember I had to room with Neil, and we went, I don't know if it was Eastern Illinois, or it might have been SEMO, because we didn't go to Eastern Illinois my redshirt freshman. We went to SEMO. Okay. And we lost that close game. We had missed a field goal, I think, or something.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
And we felt terrible coming back. You and I both did. I think it was SEMO, or I don't remember, but it was that long, 7-hour bus ride back.
Yes.
We got home, and we were still, kind of awake, I remember. And we went, and I think we went to the little, I don't even know what the mart was beside campus.
Oh, the T-Mart.
T-Mart. And I was like, I grabbed you. I was like, hey, man, so you want to grab a couple brews? And we went and grabbed some brews, went back to your room, and I think we watched the Book of Eli and just straight kicked it.
Dude,
until 7 in the morning.
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. And it was just that was the first time where I'd been outside of kind of my comfort zone to just be because I could tell something had happened, and I think you had a big play in the game.
I can't remember.
And then I just remember there was that thing where I was like, dang, he's feeling that. So it's kind of grabbed you and we went, and then we came back and was just kicking it. And that was kind of the first time where I was like, all right, this is a super cool dude.
Yeah, I mean,
and
just boys.
Yeah, and I remember from kind of that day, and more toward the school year, I would just come over there, hang out with you and Connor in your room all the time.
Yeah, and then you came to Thanksgiving. I was actually on the phone with my aunt about it, telling her I was coming over here, and she was like, oh, yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, Neil, I didn't have, particularly at that time, anywhere to go for Thanksgiving, and Neil was nice enough to bring me over to his family, and dog, when I'm saying y'all got the most bomb place, I was like...
You see the man cave now, we upgraded.
Yeah.
The basement's nice.
And you got the chillest cat in the world. I'm like, Motor's the best cat ever. But no, it was cool, man, because it was the first time I had been out of that where I had to reach out and make friends, and that was something that wasn't really common to me because it was just easy. You grew up with the same guys, and that's who your boys were. So to go outside and be like, oh snap, this dude's a real guy, and learn what you were about was really cool.
What it's about. But that, again, football was that platform. That's where we connected was for football, and it's just, I mean, it's it's a great sport. I don't know. It was
No,
awesome.
for sure.
Great times. I mean, people always ask me, speaking of, because I'm down here for golf now, and it's funny because I tell them, like, I played 4 years of football. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah. They're like, well, did you want to play golf? I was like, absolutely, I did. I've been wanting to play golf. It's been a dream of mine to get on the PGA Tour. So, I mean, that's why I'm pursuing this dream now. But, at the time, everybody asked me, like, would you do it differently? Would you want to play golf? And I said, I don't think I'd do it differently at all. I think there was a reason for me getting a scholarship after senior year of high school.
Yeah.
And then going and playing and, enjoying every year, and some of the best friends that I've ever met and will ever meet. And it's just awesome. So, like you said, like, you just got to make the most of it. I mean, I know it was a smaller school. I mean, 13,000. We were FCS, D1AA, which was nice. But, for those out there that have at smaller schools or whatever, just take it for what it's worth. I mean, I had a really good friend of mine play D3 at Millsaps, and he had the best time ever. And his last game, I think he had either an interception return for touchdown or a punt block, and he returned it for touchdown. So it was like, it kind of capped off his career. Like, Millsaps isn't like huge on the map of football, but he made the most of his opportunity and the most of his situation, which is ultimately, I feel like, what you did also in terms of being accepted. And I think, like you said, coming from smaller town, which would have been a little bigger stage at Tech, maybe not so much bigger as in Knoxville, but it's just it was just a lot of fun. And it was just, I mean, again, just great bonding, and football's football. So you can't, there's just no other sport like it. And people always talk about it, and you saw the NFL and everything, everybody uniting arms and locking arms. I think there's just something about it. I mean, there just really is. It's like that, and military service and all that sort of stuff. So it's similar. I've never been in the military, and thank you to those that do serve. But it's just a bond you just can't.
No, for sure.
Talk about really. It's just
it's one of those things that exactly, as I was gonna say, you have to experience it, and I'm sure, like you said, in other forms of life, people experience it in their own way. Mm-hmm. What I really wanted to talk about, you touched on it, was Neil is an outstanding golfer. I'm talking, like, I consider myself to be like a semi-decent goof-off golfer. Neil's played with me. I'm terrible. Just completely awful. But Neil makes me look like I've never touched a club in my life. Like, this guy can actually play, and, had a legitimate shot, I'm sure, out of high school to be like, you know what, cool, I'll just go play golf in college. But chose to play football because that was something, he was very passionate about at the same time, both of them. Stops playing football after 4 years, just hops on, I'm going to hop on the golf team, walks on and starts, doing work on the golf team. So, again, that's one of those things where, you're dealing with a special athlete and someone that can really kind of make that transition. So for you to be able to jump from football to golf, and like you said, it's always been a dream to be a part of the PGA Tour. So that's another accomplishment. I was just like,
it's two different sports.
Oh, for sure.
It's weird.
That's why I can't play, man. I told you, I'm too emotional. Like, I feel like when I try to bring that football mentality out there, I'm like throwing. You've seen me. I've chucked clubs.
Well, that's what I had to learn, is like, you can't. I'll just touch on it just here, but you can't go hit somebody if you get mad in golf. You gotta move on to the next shot, and it's just different nerves. It's different mentality.
I feel like it tests your patience a lot.
Oh.
Like, football doesn't really test your patience because you're just so, you know what I mean, like, going.
Well, the thing that I've started learning a lot this summer, I was working a camp, and that I really started paying attention to was all the, not to change subject here, but all the PGA Tour players.
Right.
If you watch the top guys that are up on the leaderboard week after week, there's a reason for it. Obviously, they're the best players in the world. For sure. But at the same time, like, they can hit a shot 40 yards right, or they can hit a shot to 2 feet, and it doesn't even look like they hit a bad shot or a good shot. So, I mean, it's just a different mentality, because you see so many emotional football players, and I've had to kind of rein that in check too, especially out on the golf course, because like you said, ups and downs all the time. So
absolutely.
But I think that's that also is a testament to football being so good in life too. That's what you gotta be patient, because you're gonna get hit in the face sometimes, and you gotta take it for what it's worth. It's just take it and roll.
Absolutely, and that's you see the most successful teams, especially at the highest level. And I found this out this last Sunday, and it's something I wanted to talk about, and that's just kind of a good segue into it. Okay. But we, there's the demonstration of the locking of arms and the kneeling during the anthem, and some people not even coming out for the anthem. And regardless of where you stand, if you're on one side or the other, the one thing you did see just to keep it strictly sports related. The one thing you did see out of a lot of teams were the teams that were the most, I guess, the least emotional, because the Ravens are known as a very highly emotional, wear the emotions on the sleeve, play with attitude, talk some stuff. That kind of franchise got dominated. You watch teams like Pittsburgh, lost and got kind of humiliated as well. Teams like that you see that kind of play with that heart on the sleeve mentality and really, really go out there and swing emotions around and aren't really kind of level. The Tennessee Titans have not been a good franchise in a long time, but with Mariota under center, they play with literally almost no pulse at all.
They look good.
And they looked great. Teams like that, the Patriots are another one that Tom Brady
They got my boy toting it too.
Who's that?
Derrick Henry.
Oh, man, don't start with this Alabama stuff, man.
We're back on it.
We're going to get there. I promise you, we're going to get there. But yeah, it's one of those things where you really see, because I played football with a super high emotion, and it was sometimes, like you said, to the detriment of me. I would play, frustrated if I didn't get a pass thrown my way, or I'd play really frustrated and try to use that as, momentum to try to make another play, but it would just add on and I wouldn't play as well. I wouldn't focus as well.
It's just being a 19-year-old kid, too.
It is. A lot of it is because, one, you're selfish. Even at the point where you do have to be unselfish and play with the team, you do want to contribute and you want to, let your talents be shown, especially in my situation where I kind of had to. I was like, look, I got to make a play for me to get this money for my scholarship. So, and I wanted to show I was worth that. It's always the chip on the shoulder when you're not recruited highly. And again, for those people that are out there that are athletes and aren't recruited highly, play the game within yourself. You don't want to play the game.
Play with a chip on your shoulder.
I love playing with chip on the shoulder, but just don't play out of control. Don't play with that emotion crazy high through the roof and turn, to the max, because it's not going to help you and it's going to hurt you and your team, I feel like.
Let the game come to you.
For sure.
That's what it's all about.
And then I remember, so to kind of, speed up the story here. So when you're playing college football, especially at the level we were, like I said, you really have to love the game. And at a certain point, for me, and this is kind of where our paths kind of separated, and we met back here in Florida, but I left school early, and you continued. And my whole thinking behind it at the time, a couple different things. I ended up having some shoulder surgery.
Yeah.
But
injuries.
Yeah, just injuries after injuries, and that's another thing with football.
It's
yeah. If you're gonna play, right? If you're gonna play, you know the risks.
Well, you look at Florida State.
Look at everybody right now, and I can talk about this in a little bit, but just the fact of how scary the game actually is something you sign up for when you play because you love the game, but at the same time, it is a real concern.
Sure.
It is something where you if you're signing on that dotted line, you're saying this is what I want to do. You better know the risks involved, because
sure.
it's one of those things that you carry with you for a while. But I remember I left, and it was one of those things where I fell out of love with the game, and it was something that I didn't really fall back in love with until recently when I watched it, because at a certain point you play for a lot of things that are outside of yourself. At least I did, and I hope that anybody that is listening, still play. If you are playing, still plays the game because they love it. At a certain point, I started to not like going to practice, which I don't think a lot of people do, but I started to not like putting on that game uniform. I started to not like snapping up the helmet and running out. I felt like I was going through the motions with everything. And it was affecting what I was doing outside of football too, because like I said,
it bleeds into school.
Right. I've never been a big school guy, but just the fact that I kind of reverted back into, why am I here? I was pursuing a degree I didn't want. I was in business. We were both in business. And I didn't want to be in business. There were times where I didn't even want to go to class. I didn't show up to class sometimes, and you knew that.
I saw it firsthand.
Right? So, it might look, it might be one of those things, oh, he's lazy, he's this. I just had no passion for it anymore. My biggest passion, I don't know if you remember, I was a journalism major our freshman year.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I changed my major based on the fact that I didn't think there was any money in it. I didn't want to be one of those guys that got one of those easy degrees that didn't make any money and just got out of there. But it was something I was really passionate about, and kind of the pressure of my family, things outside of my control, pushed me kind of toward the business route. Get you a good job, get you a nice house, get you a family, that whole thing. It just wasn't for me. But I left school, and Neil stayed on, got that degree.
And my MBA.
Big time. Oh, don't whisper that. You got to let the people know.
Yeah, I stayed on and got my MBA.
There you go. But yeah, man, that was kind of our experience in college. It was more of, just being able to make those lifelong bonds that I guarantee you, like I'll be 40, this dude will be 70 because he's that much older than me. Let you guys know.
My body is.
No. we'll be in touch. I'm sure, when old boy gets him a girl and gets married. Speaking of girls, you guys see the logo. My girl actually made that, so shout out to Kelsey.
That's awesome.
Get at her at Kelsey Santiago. I think it's Kel Santiago. I'll have to check, but go
I
follow
know?
her. I don't know. She be changing it, man. I don't know.
Sorry, Kelsey.
But yeah, dope ass logo there. So you guys check that out. But yeah, when he gets married and he has a family, I'm sure I'll be there at that wedding and he'll be at mine. Like it's one of those things you can never break.
Mm-mm.
And so, but
That's real.
yeah. But no, but one of those things that I wanted to talk about, especially with the college football, and we're on the subject, is I'm a big Tennessee fan. Neil's the enemy. I have red in here kind of by default, but we don't like the red.
That's why it's a good-looking set.
We don't like all that. This is like a lighter red. We just don't mess with crimson, all right? But I'm a big Tennessee Vol fan, and I'll be the first to admit our program's got a big problem right now.
In terms of?
I think it's
from a Tennessee fan. I want to hear your side.
So okay, I'll just go right into it. So basically, the problem I feel like isn't with our players. I think we have really top tier talent in the SEC. I think we always have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you slap another jersey on those guys and give them a different head coach and a different program and a different just feel of discipline in that program, that they are successful players. And you see that by the turnout in the NFL with our players.
Yeah. I mean,
they make good NFL players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what I think is happening with the current Tennessee program, and it's almost sad because as a Tennessee fan from the day I was born, like my crib gets a Tennessee football. You know what I mean? Like Knoxville, you grow up bleeding orange.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever said or felt like I didn't want to watch a Tennessee game.
You feel that now?
And I feel like that right now. And the sad part is I feel so bad for the guys on the team. I feel not because that they chose to come to Tennessee. I think that's the best choice they could have made. And everybody's different. They had their own individual reasons. But I think the administration, I think that the athletic department itself has a big problem, especially with where all the money is going is to this football program. Tennessee has a ton of boosters. Fans are coming to these games that they're playing nobodies and they're selling them out. What happened last week? And you're starting to see it more and more now.
I didn't watch the game. I did see the score though.
Tennessee
but y'all
played
are 3-1.
We're 3-1.
But it feels terrible. It feels like a bad 3-1.
We're 2-1 right now. 1-1. Are we 3-1?
3-1.
3-1.
0-1 SEC play.
That's correct. So we played some powder puffs. Georgia Tech was a good game, a game that I'm glad we did win, and also a game I thought we should have won. I think you won the games we should have won.
You thought y'all should have won that game?
I think so. It was an unranked Georgia Tech team.
Oh no, they were good.
It's a tough matchup when you face a triple option.
No doubt.
It's
you
tough.
only get it one. You get it once.
And you saw it. They ran for like 600 yards. So it is what it is. It was a good game to win. I think we played. We played better than some of the decision making. Sometimes you outplay. Sometimes
I agree with that.
But the thing is, you shouldn't have to outplay your coaching. You know what I mean? I don't think that you should have to make up for mistakes from the top. And I think that's where a lot of the problems start. Butch Jones actually had a press conference today, and it was a lot to take in, because he for the first time I had seen him talk in more of an unscripted kind of real manner, where it wasn't just like, oh, he's spitting,
some sort of cliche
something
statement.
off the paper, you know what I mean? And so that was the first time where I actually heard Butch Jones talk in a real way, and it kind of took me back, because you finally saw like, oh, this guy actually is, I like that guy.
Yeah.
But what I don't like is the inadequate coaching on the field. Like it's Florida game. We'll just bring it up. It still cut me deep. But we'll talk about it. You're sitting in a nickel package. Just this for people that don't know. Go watch the Florida game. Ruin my life. Whatever. Last play of the game, Tennessee loses on a Hail Mary, 63-yard Hail Mary, and I think they're sitting in a nickel package. They got Florida's lined up 4 wide or 5 wide, and of course they're throwing the bomb. Everybody knows they're throwing the bomb. We had 2 safeties back to cover 4 guys.
Yeah.
And,
it was a weird situation, though, because I was watching it, and McElwain, of all the coaching blunders, I was talking to my mom about it because she went to Florida. And so I called her right after. But of all the coaching blunders, I thought Butch would have made this decision when, the clock was ticking down from 20 to 15 seconds, and he doesn't call a timeout.
None.
Because I think he thought that they got the first down so the clock would stop, and they could actually reset, maybe spike it, and then run a play or something. Because they didn't have any timeouts left. Well, they had one, I guess, but he was trying to save it and whatever. But I think it threw Butch off. Looking at it from that perspective, I think he wasn't sure if they were going to let the clock run out and go to overtime. There's 9 seconds left, and then they did call timeout. But at the same time, I guess you're right. Coming out of timeout,
I was going to say, here's the thing that I understand that
you gotta, yeah.
But you call a timeout, and you come out of the timeout, and you drop 2 safeties,
everybody back,
and there's 9 people within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage.
Rush 2 people.
What are you doing? You know what I mean? It's one of those things, and it's not just this year. I'm not going to get on somebody for one game.
I think Tennessee wins that game too if they go into overtime.
I think you're completely right. Had the momentum going from the second half, completely swayed.
John
Could
Kelly
not stop John. And I really want to talk about John Kelly too. A freak.
Dude, so good.
I watched him even in the UMass game. He didn't really go off, but you saw the touches. And when he gets the ball, there's very few things he doesn't do well. Without the ball, he's a great blocker. He's not a first and second down back. He plays first, second, and third down and sits in there for pass pro.
Yeah.
Not only that, but a great receiver out of the backfield, even though a lot of people Tennessee's tendency on offense is very easy to figure out.
Dink and dunk.
Dink and dunk, throw the screen. It's not hard to figure out. And still makes great plays, you know what I mean? And then when he runs the football, great field vision. Really strong. You're not bringing down arm tackles.
No.
You might not bring him down one-on-one and you pop him.
And the open field too, he's pretty shifty.
His yards after contact are ridiculous. It's a great running back. But besides Saquon Barkley and whoever Alabama has, because Alabama's just got a stable
3 or 4 deep.
You know what I mean? It is what it is.
Oh, no, he's definitely a top-tier back in the league.
Crazy.
In NCAA, easily.
But
shout out Brett Kendrick, too, by the way. He's good offensive lineman.
Oh, yeah.
My buddy Bryce.
I was going to say, that's your boy.
Yeah.
But this is the thing with me, man. After 5 years, Butch Jones, and I don't know I think it's 10 years, the stat I saw, but Tennessee in the last however many years, 0-14 or 24 against top 10 teams.
That's not good.
It's not good. And when you got a program that has A-plus facilities.
Oh, phenomenal.
I mean, ridiculous recruiting edge.
Well, and the fan base, too.
The fan base is there.
Gosh.
And this is what I was going to say about Saturday. I don't know if you saw this, but you look at that game with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. This game is still a game. It's 17-13.
Yeah.
People are leaving the game. I've never seen people
disgust or just
disgust, booing, and some people took it as booing the players. Booing, not the players at all, the coaching staff, of course, but just getting up and leaving. And this is still a ball game. UMass has the ball in Tennessee territory twice in the fourth, and people are just sick of it, and they get up and they leave. For whatever reason, good or bad. That's a bad look on the program.
Oh, of course.
And after 5 years, the Butch Jones project, I think, is well, I mean, it's over. So I hate to say it, but that's my opinion. I think you got to move on.
Do you think he stays the season, or is he gone before? Do you think they let him finish? I think the next couple weeks are
huge. This Georgia game is huge for him. This is what I think. I think
they run into a buzzsaw again.
Oh, dude, it could get bad. I mean, even that Jake Fromm kid is a freshman at Georgia. Is diming people up left and right.
Freak show.
And he's got a stable behind him.
Oh, yeah.
You can't forget about Nick Chubb. As much as I want to rave about John Kelly, Nick Chubb is that guy too.
Sony
Michel's that guy. So, and Tennessee's not great on the run. They're not a great run defense.
Defense is really good too.
So it's going to get ugly. And if he does lose this game, I think the press conference he just gave today, you guys need to go watch it. It was especially the end of it. You can tell he cares about the program.
Yeah, of course.
You can tell he cares not only about the football program, but these kids as student athletes and graduating. A lot of the kids, which is a huge thing as a coach, but at the same time,
gotta win football games.
You gotta win football games. You can't be inadequate at the top, and you can't make excuses after every single loss or close game that you shouldn't be in close games. You know what I mean? And so, I think, and this is just my opinion. Don't roast me in the comments, Fall Nation, but I think that the Butch Jones project's over. I think that he's out at the end of the year, though. I don't think he gets, unless it's one of these 55 or 56-7 games against Georgia. they might pull the trigger.
What's the rest of the schedule look like? I didn't even look.
They got Georgia. You got the SEC East teams. You got South Carolina. You got Vandy might be a tough game. Jesus Christ.
Someone was saying that Vandy.
I mean, Alabama literally made them look like a high school program. But what are they going to do to Tennessee? What are they going to do to Tennessee? They might put 70 on Tennessee. And I'm a Tennessee fan, and I don't mean to disrespect the program, but it's just, what do you do?
South Carolina's no cakewalk.
No. These teams, Kentucky held with Florida. Should it be Florida?
Florida, as much as I want to say they're a decent team, they're struggling.
Offensively, they have no identity. Well, it's Tennessee. I swear, and I've never seen this, but Tennessee and Florida are almost mirror images of each other, except Florida has a better D-line. That's what I see.
Oh, yeah.
Had no identity on offense.
No. But that's the thing, and I think your statements and your comments are coming from a Vol fan that has been upset the past 5 years because you don't have an identity.
No. And how do you not?
Y'all got great players.
Right.
How do you not somehow get them involved in a system that will benefit? Obviously, that's the goal, right? Is to benefit and to score and to win games. But you gotta either develop your players or figure it out. And you can't be given like you said, you think it's over 5 years, and and it's not like Tennessee's been bad, if that makes sense. I mean, they should have won the SEC East last year. They should have maybe won it the year before.
Right.
But it's just like gut-wrenching, like rip your heart out, like should never have ever happened type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was the way that the season was going, and being up in Tennessee, and I always joke around. You've heard me say that I've become more of an Alabama fan than I was, and we have some obnoxious fans, and just Tuscaloosa's Tuscaloosa, but
right.
I actually became more of one because all I had to hear was, for 5 years, this is
Tennessee's year, baby.
This is our year. And, talking about football, like from a guy that we watch games differently.
Right.
And we also kind of assess talent differently than
absolutely
most people that just watch the game to watch it because they're fans.
Mm-hmm.
But they've had players, like we said earlier, they've had players for years. And like you said, you look at the NFL and you got guys getting drafted all the time, but why, when they were together, did it not work?
No.
And it's just tough. And I will say this, having heard it for 5 years, I felt like last year, I did want to say that last year was the best year y'all had. I felt like the best. I mean, y'all had everybody.
Everyone, and we had a first-round draft pick, a stud in Barnett.
Oh, yeah.
Flat-out stud. Reggie White is a Hall of Famer, legend. Broke his sack record at Tennessee.
Freak show.
Had a 5-0 start, lose a heartbreaker at A&M, turnovers, things that are careless.
But you look back at the schedule too, though. Like, would y'all play Ohio?
Yeah,
it was
close game.
Ohio.
Close game.
App State, I believe, should have won the game.
Close game. I mean, how do you have these teams?
Taylor Lamb.
There it is. How do you have these teams that are so? And I don't want to say inferior because it's not that. College football. Spoiler alert: college football players, they're good everywhere. Everybody in the gap is closing. For people that think that FCS teams aren't legit or small FBS teams aren't legit, go watch any game week 0 and week 1 of these top teams getting upset. Talent level's closing.
Well, the difference is the depth.
Absolutely, that's the only difference.
You look. It was funny because we were watching it with my buddy Marty, played with us when he was down for Labor Day, and we watched all the games. But every time on the ticker, it was like OVC teams, like Jack State was leading an FBS team, or some, you look at Liberty beat Baylor.
Yep.
The 3 or 4 upsets in the first week, you just look at it and you're like, how does that even happen? A, and then B, it's always a close game until kind of the second, third, fourth quarter.
And that's where you're talking about.
Missouri State, was tied with Missouri with a minute to go in the first half. Now, I don't think Missouri's very good, but Missouri State coming in there slinging it.
Yeah.
They end up losing by like 30, but it goes back to the depth thing. They don't have enough players like the Missouris and the big schools.
The ones on ones, it's competitive. You might not, your ones might not be as good, but they'll hang.
Yeah.
But your 2s, and 3s and 4s at that point aren't going to be able to hang with those teams. And that's Tennessee at this point, and I hate to keep going back and harping on the program. I'll end it with this. 2 things, actually. I think Butch Jones' time is done. And I know, and I've been a Tennessee fan for a long time. I know how frantic and people love to get into this coaching carousel hype. People at Tennessee, we've had to do it for a good amount, a lot of turnover in the last 10 years, last 5 or 10 years. So people get really hyped up about this coaching carousel train and who's next. I've said this from 2 years ago, and I don't have anybody to confirm it, but I promise you guys, this has been my opinion for 2 years. When you saw, and this is who I think should be taken over, when you saw a guy like Bob Stoops at Oklahoma who started to get in a little bit of hot water at Oklahoma for not winning 12 games a year and not winning national titles, and losing that one game they shouldn't have lost. And Tennessee does that like nobody else. But this is what I think. I think Tennessee, if you're going to go after a guy, you've been after the guys that don't have names. You've been after the guys that have moderate success at lower programs and you thought could turn the program around. You've done that already. Mm-hmm. Now it's time to bring all that, shell out all that booster money you got.
Who y'all getting?
I think you go after Bob Stoops. And this is why. This is why. Because I think that Bob Stoops is a guy, and a lot of these guys, you see Mark Richt doing it, trying to do it at Miami. You see Nick Saban coming from the NFL to do it. Mm-hmm. I think there are guys that get, almost lulled to sleep at the program they're at. After 10 or 12 years of doing the same thing over and over and over, you kind of lose that motivation and that chip on your shoulder, like we were talking about, to go out and really, you don't have anything to prove when you're in Bob Stoops and you've won 11 games a year for the past 10 years or 5 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But when you get, I don't want to say scorned, because you saw in the Oklahoma game when they were playing Ohio State, he's an Oklahoma guy through and through.
Yeah, he was up there in the
right, and he was going crazy. So I don't know if this would ever work out, but I think you throw all the money you can at Bob Stoops and you give him a chance to revitalize that chip on his shoulder. He's always been a guy that hates the SEC as far as thinks that they're overrated. He thinks the Alabamas of the world, him and Nick Saban have had beef for a long time. I think you bring a guy in that not only hates Alabama as much as Tennessee fans do, and it's not even a rivalry. Like, we hate Alabama, but they don't even acknowledge us on the map. They're like, whatever, Tennessee's a dub. Let's go look at Auburn.
Well,
that's
been
the way
tough
it is.
The last 5 years, yeah. Last 8 or 9, I guess.
It's been a while, man.
It was 8. I think it's been 9 now.
Yeah.
I think last year was 9, so this year will be 10.
It is what it is. I can't even.
It's gonna be in Tuscaloosa. It's gonna be tough. But yeah, So my question is, because I've talked to my buddy Cam, that went to Tech with us also. He's wanting Gruden. Is that still? You think that's a real option?
I don't think you. Look,
there's
John
no
Gruden
way.
would be great. It would be. If you're fantasy booking, for sure, you go after John Gruden. But how do you get him away from that lucrative deal at ESPN?
Yeah. He ain't leaving.
He's not working.
No,
at all.
1 night a week.
He works 1 night a week. He does his whatever it is, his quarterback camp. He does, and he calls games. There's no stress in that job.
No.
He travels. 12, 13 weeks out of the year. Other than that, he sits at home and he chills. Why would you give up that and a better pay grade that you're going to get at Tennessee? At Tennessee could throw all the money in the world. It's not ESPN money.
And he's coached. He's won Super Bowls. And
he's done it.
What else does he have to prove?
Right? What else? And he's a big Tennessee guy.
Oh,
he loves Tennessee.
Yeah.
I think his wife went there. Mm-hmm. So it'd be nice, but I'm thinking more of the realistic, what can really happen. And maybe it's not. Maybe you don't get Bob Stoops away. Maybe he's just done and he rode off into the sunset, and that's what it is. He's an Oklahoma guy. Maybe.
Who knows?
But if you can, I think you go after Bob Stoops, and I think you try to put it to Nick Saban in Alabama, because that's where you want to be as a program.
Absolutely.
You want to be on that level,
That's what everybody's striving to be right now. He's made it a system.
Yeah. That's all my Tennessee talk. I had to get it out there.
Thank you.
I was sitting on that for a long time, and I wanted to especially after last week's game, a team that hasn't won a game this year, by the way.
Oh, UMass 0-4.
0-4, and you struggle with that team. But whatever. That is what it is. But yeah. So Neil's a big Alabama fan. They're obviously dominant in all phases of the game. But what I wanted to really kind of touch on too was why college football is doing so well. Why it's such a big deal to everyone. Not just a certain demographic of fans, even casual fans. This is a huge deal. Huge industry, huge moneymaker. And why it's different from the NFL.
I think it's relatable.
Yeah.
I think it's relatable. I mean, you got 18 to 22-year-old kids, and the ones that aren't in college. The ones that aren't playing that are in college, are the fans. They can see them on campus. They can relate to them, and they look up to them. I mean, they're celebrities that are their age, so they can relate to them, and they're doing the same stuff that they're doing. They're going to class and everything, and it's just it's relatable. But I think also. There's passion in it. I mean, because they're not getting paid.
That's correct.
So those guys are out there
I mean, in some places.
Busting it.
I don't know what y'all got going on in Alabama. I'm just saying, like.
We plead the fifth. But no, you just look at it. It's relatable and they play with passion. I think that's the big thing. They're not they don't have salaries, so if a guy is Alabama Tennessee game, he's a senior, he's played it every year. If he's got a bum shoulder, you better believe he's playing because he's want that third Saturday in October come around and to smoke the cigar as tradition in the locker room. Like he's playing.
Shout out the third Saturday in October. Usually lands on my birthday. Tennessee fan.
No, he's not gonna take the game off because it's in his. He may have a contract or he doesn't want to get hurt for next year because he's making X amount of money for X amount of years. But he's gonna play, and I think that's why, and people are different. Some, a lot of people like NFL only. And
NFL's a huge brand in its own right, but it is, and
it's top grossing. I talked to my best friend Miles today. He said it's a top grossing business in the world.
Yeah.
It's just crazy what people will go to watch for football. I mean,
absolutely.
They play. Me and my dad always joke around about it for college especially, but like those kids that are again 18 to 22, like we were, and I think our stands held 15 to 20,000 maybe.
Right.
But when we went to Tuscaloosa when we got out of the hurricane, we went up to Tuscaloosa after Labor Day, and I was showing some of my buddies down here around up there, and me and my dad always joke around the saying of they play there 6 times a year.
Yeah.
For 6 days out of the year. It's 102,000 seat stands that they play 6 times a year.
Yeah.
And they're making millions and millions and millions of dollars off of the kids' play. But it's just, but again, you can't go back to like the Seahawks campus, if that makes sense.
Right.
You can go back to your alma mater. Like we can go back to Tech and we can, again, relate to being in classes and playing on that field and being in the locker room and that workout facility, which is what alumni and old players and even fans can relate to because they were there, so they experienced it. That it's just I think
it gives you a sense of community. I really think that, especially in the college game, like you were saying, you guys are there for one reason, that's to play football.
Of course.
I mean, obviously they're student athletes, they go to school, but they're on that team because they love to play football.
Mm-hmm.
And so do guys in the NFL, but I think that the reason, and kind of to touch on, you basically nailed it on the head. I think the reason that guys, especially the NFL, is, like you said, top grossing, but I think they're bleeding right now, and it's a couple of things. It is the I guess your opinion on what's going on with the kneeling and politics have somehow bled its way into the football world.
It's a sticky situation.
It's tough, man, and it's crazy because I love football. And I told I told you guys I kind of fell out of love with it, but a lot of things brought me back, just kind of watching and getting that feeling, even just watching Tennessee play, and that feeling that I told you guys about in the first podcast where you get those butterflies and they don't come around a lot, especially, when you get these big milestones in your life and you move on from those things and you're kind of just living a normal life and you're doing, things to get through your day and trying to pursue something that you really want in your life. Those butterflies don't come around if you're not doing something you're passionate about.
Oh, no, absolutely.
But when you have those little opportunities to kind of get in touch or get in touch with that feeling again, it's amazing. And it's what brought me back to the game, and why I, started a podcast and wanted to kind of talk about it was I connect so much more with those players that, at Tennessee, because, one thing is, like I said, that's where I'm from.
Yeah.
We bleed orange there. Like our pro teams in Nashville, like I'm sure a lot of the people that live in Nashville really like the Titans, but I don't know what it is. It's that kind of, like you said, that sense of these guys are here to play a game that they're not getting paid for, that they really love. And at the same time, politics and things in the real world, kind of, it's a release. You don't have to bring those things. It's a more pure form of the game.
Oh yeah.
Where those things don't really bleed in. And so you're watching a game and you don't have to worry about what's going to go on in the headlines tomorrow outside of this that ruins this game for me. You know what I mean?
More off the field issues than anything for college.
Yeah, and you hear about those things and they're a bummer, but at the next week you're still watching that team play.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there's no one thing that's bigger than going to watch that Tennessee game.
No.
And I tell you this, I guarantee you, and this is a big thing for NFL football too. A lot of the players, fantasy football is a huge thing.
Oh,
huge in America. And a lot of the players have come out and been like, you know what, I don't care about your, fantasy football team. You know what I'm saying? I got to look out for me, and more power to those guys. Get all the money you can.
Very understandable.
Because
it's their job. It's their livelihood.
Of course. And that commission, the NFL is going to look out for the shield at the end of the day. They're not going to look out for that single player that's going out there busting his ass every week. You know what I mean? So get your money, do your thing. But just think if there's a fantasy football, and I'm sure it's coming, if there's a fantasy football league in college, they bleed these guys already.
They have it on DraftKings.
See what I'm saying?
So they have, but it's tricky because, again, those guys are playing with passion, and they're playing to play the game. Not saying that NFL players aren't, but at the same time, like, it's tough doing, a draft because there's a lot more players in college.
There's so much more.
But at the same time, too, anybody can beat anybody in college. But at the same time, also, the players. I mean, you look at like Saquon Barkley, like he can just go off at one point, or he can.
Did
have
you
a
watch
bad
that game Saturday? Oh my God!
Oh, he's a freak. He's best,
okay.
He may be the best player in college.
Maybe my ass. He's the best player in college football right now.
He's
I can't.
The real deal.
I can't hate on a guy like.
And he does it all too.
Does everything, and I can't hate on a guy like what's the old dude from Louisville?
Oh, Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson. I can't hate on the guy because flat out stud as well. I mean, dude can play.
Video game.
But I watched, and I hadn't got to watch Saquon Barkley a lot. I'd watched a couple highlights, and I'm like, oh God, this guy's for real. I watched that entire Iowa game.
Mm-hmm.
In the first half, not a lot going on either side. They gave this cat the ball 23 times in the second half on the ground. They threw it to him 10 more times.
Second half?
In the second half. There was a third down play late in the game, and Penn State was up at that point, and they needed this third down. And I'm sure you saw the highlight. I'm sure you guys did too. Dude catches it in the backfield, swing pass, takes one step, and hurdles over a guy full extension. Gets the first down. And then the controversial play, he was actually down, but the move he made on the sideline, he took a run and went up the sideline, stopped on a dime. And usually when guys stop on a dime like that, they're trying to make the back juke and let the guy go by. He stops on a dime, then steps on his back foot and goes again. It was just ridiculous, this guy, man.
He's nice.
The next level, look out for that guy.
Oh, yeah, he's nice.
I'm calling it now. My Heisman winner, Saquon Barkley. I mean, it's not not shocking anybody with that pick.
Going out on a limb there,
right? Not a shocker there, but once you heard it here first. No, he's ridiculous. And I was going to say about John Kelly, like, there's one guy that, John Kelly I'm a big fan of, but Saquon Barkley's just that next level. Like, those two guys are elite level running backs.
Oh, absolutely.
But Saquon Barkley, you look at him and you see that disparity, and then you look at you reflect on yourself and what kind of athlete I was. You're like, what in the world does it take to be that kind of different special?
Genetics, God-given talent.
And that's what I think is really cool about us as fans now, because we're fans now. Mm-hmm. We get to see, what exactly, because I love when I'm in a different setting and a lot of people are just fans, like my friends back home. And, I love those guys. They're my brothers. I grew up with them, and I'm going to probably have them on the podcast too. But I love getting in and watching football games and then being like, oh, come on, he should have this or he should have that. And have no idea.
Well, again, it goes back to us just watching the games differently.
Absolutely.
And my brother's the same way, too, playing in high school, and he played corner. So it's funny, I'll watch offensively, but, I mean, I know how the defense does it because we had to watch a lot of film.
Right.
But he's watching defensively and can pick up reads on certain offensive stuff. And but then you talk to, your mom or my mom, and they're like, oh, that was a good play. Like they see it a little bit, but they don't see all of the intricacies of one particular play and why this happened here or this happened there. And it's always fun to with DVR now we can go back and rewind and watch different plays and be like, well, this guy was
break
here,
it down.
And this is why, and they're like, oh,
just
funny.
go.
Yeah, you look at your parents, they're like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't see that during the play, but that makes sense. And see, that's what we see. We see it all happening as it's happening. And they have to go back and watch it, which is funny. But
when I was out in California, I literally became like John Gruden to my mom. Like, I was breaking down film, and I don't know about you if you're the same with your mom, but it is so
Wade
hard.
Gruden grinder,
right? I had my little hat on. It was so hard to watch games with my mom, just because I know how my mom is at my games, and just I love my mom to death. She's the best woman on earth. Love her to death, and she would go so crazy watching me play. Because that's your mom. That's the way it is. But even when Tennessee plays, or she's a big Broncos fan. She's a Broncos fan. But Peyton Manning retired, so she's on the edge. But she goes.
Which team
she yells at this TV like it can hear her.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. And I have to, if I'm watching a Tennessee game and the littlest thing will happen, like a 2-yard gain, she's screaming her heart out. I'm like, I got to go somewhere. I can't do this. But it's one of those things that's, when you watch it with somebody else, their reaction is going to be completely different,
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, man, that's one of the things I really thought the NCAA is doing a lot of things right, other than one big glaring thing, obviously, which is kind of the workhorse attitude that these players kind of have with really no financial gain out of it. And I don't want to get on that subject today because I could go on that for days. But that's, I think, one of the things that makes the NCAA, it's such a profitable business. If you look at it, as a business, it's so profitable, and the NFL's kind of bleeding because those two things are different. The pride in your school, the no kind of politics that are in that area, other than the off the field issues and things like that. And like you said, just the commitment to everyday, those guys are playing football because they love to play.
Yeah.
And not that the NFL guys aren't. We talked about that, but it's just the general public looks at that and says, well, they aren't getting paid, so they're, it is what it is. In both cases, I think guys love football either way.
Oh, you have
but
to.
You do have those guys, backup quarterbacks that are chilling.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, you get those guys that are second and third string quarterbacks, the best job ever.
Right.
Making millions and not having to play too much, But it's just, it's funny.
No, that's one of those craziest things, man. Have you been to a game down here, by the way? Have you been to like
I have not.
Dolphins game or anything?
I have not ventured down to Miami, but I would like to go to a Bucs game. I think the Bucs Stadium's super cool.
I don't know where I'm at. The Bucs are right here, yeah.
Yeah, it's like an hour away. The Bucs Stadium is super, super cool because I went there for the ACC championship game for Georgia Tech and Clemson, 8-10 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. I would like to go to a game because I'd like to see Jameis Winston play, and it's on my bucket list. I actually have a bucket list for I want to go to all pro sporting events.
Like football,
basketball.
Wait. So baseball. You want to go to? Oh, you not like you want to go around the country. You want to go to every single like major sporting event. I got you.
Yeah, like in each like city. Like I want to go to the Jags. I want to see the Jags stadium. I want to go to the Dolphins. I've been to the Bucks.
So you're saying you want to do all NFL teams,
all football, basketball,
all basketball
baseball,
teams, all
tennis.
I want tennis. To what was that? Tennis.
Golf. I want to go to
no golf. I
can majors.
See. Have you never been down there? You never been to Augusta?
No.
Who was that I thought's been? I'm sure a couple of people we played with have been down there.
I've been around it. I haven't. I have not gone.
You know, actually gone to Augusta National.
Mm-mm.
I wouldn't. That's a great bucket list, man. That's crazy. How many have you kind of done so far?
So far, off the top of my head, I've been to Atlanta.
What a nice stadium they got, man.
I haven't seen the new one.
No,
not yet. But it's
you got to go watch the Braves play.
I've been to the Braves.
The new one?
No, I haven't been to the new one.
So me and my buddy Jacob, he just got married this last April, and that's when I was back down in Tennessee again. Mm-hmm. I had a job I had to do in Atlanta, just the modeling stuff or whatever. I got down there, and after that, they picked me up from the airport, and we, it was his kind of bachelor weekend thing, and we went and watched the Braves play. Oh my God, that new stadium!
I heard it's awesome.
It was amazing. They had.
I heard parking sucks, though.
Yeah, we just Ubered over there, but even the Uber thing, like they got a section for it now.
Really?
Dude, it looked like the masses trying to get on Noah's Ark. It was ridiculous. But it was really cool, and I hadn't been to the baseball game, and I don't think I'd ever been to an MLB game, actually. I think it was my first one.
Really?
Yeah, and I was over in Orange County for 5 years. I didn't go to an Angels game. Just never, I was just doing other things, and baseball's never been my thing anyway, so I was just like, whatever.
I feel like I've been to a Titans game, too, but I can't remember. I mean, yeah, I want to do... It's a cool bucket list, but
sure.
It's something that
that one. I mean, that's an actual bucket list because that's going to take a while.
Oh yeah, but you could go to a city and, because some sports they kind of overlap. So you could go to maybe a Patriots playoff game when the Celtics
stay and to make a weekend out of a week or whatever.
Yeah, it'd be kind of cool to do. So.
Would you do the whole soccer route though? Not to. I mean, I'm just not a big fan of soccer. But would you go
like the MLS?
The only place I would go in the MLS. Yeah, the only place I would go in the MLS.
I've been to the Orlando City.
They're pretty good?
No, they're not very good, but the stadium is really cool.
Where you need to go, and if you're going to do it, and this is what I heard, you got to go to the Pacific Northwest. Have to.
Oh, Seattle
Sounders, the Portland, what is it, the
Timbers.
Timberwolves or Timbers? Timbers. I don't know. I know but I hear they go like crazy at their games. The Timbers, they legit apparently have a saw, and they'll if they score a goal, they'll saw a piece of this big lumber off. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But yeah, I've never been... one to go out and watch a lot of games. I don't know why, but Tennessee, of course, I'll go watch.
Yeah.
The only other actual college team we didn't actually get to the stadium, but I came with you for what's it called? The Auburn
Iron Bowl.
Yeah, the Iron Bowl. And we didn't end up getting to the stadium that day, but we planned on it. But we just never made it.
We had the right idea.
Right? We were going with the right intentions.
Were good.
We just ended up getting there.
Plans get a little.
But that campus though.
Oh.
Fraternity Row looked like Beverly Hills.
You need to see Cole's new. Did we show you? Were you there when Cole's?
Is Cole in a fraternity?
Yeah.
Is he?
It's like a hotel. It's a mansion.
It's crazy.
It's 3-story. It has an elevator in it.
It was that one street I remember going down, and every single house was just looked like the pearly gates. It was ridiculous down there.
Yeah, it's dumb.
Well, that's where Fraternity Row kind of started, right? Fraternities. I mean, Alabama's like one of the first schools that
I don't
really.
know that specifically, but I do know that
like I know Ole Miss was one.
Ole Miss, is big time traditional with all that. Tennessee's are a little non-traditional. I feel like kind of like they're spread out. Like they don't have just a fraternity row and then kind of their own quad and whatever. And then you go to different places that have fraternity houses that aren't necessarily houses. They're like in a building.
Yeah. Dude, Tex.
Yeah,
for sure. But no, Alabama's got to be first place, like All-American, first team All-American.
Them and Ole Miss, and I think Florida State's pretty good too. Florida's is cool. I've been to the Florida campus.
You've been making rounds, bro.
Hey,
you've been getting out
there. Traveling. It's travel life. No, but it's cool. I haven't been to Florida State. I think I've heard about it, but no, I've been to the Florida one. Florida's really cool. Campus is really cool.
Nice.
I really want to go to Ole Miss too. I've been to Athens.
Don't sleep on those West Coast schools now, though. I heard those West Coast schools. I mean, I went to.
They don't play no D.
No. I'm just saying their fraternity stuff.
I'm saying their football teams don't play no
D. No, they don't. They just sling it. I was at SC one time, and their campus is really nice. I went to Cal one time. Actually, I was doing a job one time at Cal.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and I was there, and Jared Goff was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he had just got done, and he was like working out there. And I walked. He's playing pretty well this year, but I walked up, and I don't know if you know how I am. I like to kind of size people up. Tall guy, but he was super skinny.
I'm sure.
Super unathletic looking. I was like,
Tom Brady.
I could play quarterback for the Rams, bro.
Who's your favorite player in the NFL
right now? Oh man. I mean, you got to go with that. I mean, Eric Berry, a guy like Eric Berry is really a huge fan favorite. Love the way he plays, hard nosed. Unfortunately, got an Achilles tear, but he got his money last offseason, which is good for him. Thank God. Offensively, I mean, OBJ is as wide receivers. That's if you're gonna make a perfect wide receiver. I mean, he has a couple drops here and there, but his hands.
Oh, you've been on him for a while.
I have been. I told you.
You told me.
I forgot about that. I told you about him, and you scoffed at me.
I didn't like it because he was at a smaller Louisiana school.
He was doing work
or wherever. I forget where he went to high school.
He went to the same high school Peyton Manning went
to. That's right. So he was at a smaller school, and I was like, having obviously played, like if you went to a smaller school, not that you were a bad player, but your competition is there's a relativity kind of to it, like. Are you really that good against bad competition, or are you really that good?
Right.
And so I was kind of looking at it like, all right, dude's got some game.
Bro, you looked at me and like
I wasn't sold.
You looked at me
like now. I mean, dude's a baller.
Odell, you owe me some royalty fees, bro. I was promoting you before you even knew.
Dude's a baller.
But no, I showed you, and you looked at me like this dude had just walked on the JV team.
I was not sold. I wasn't a fan.
Nah, but I remember him being so cold. I don't know how I found his highlight tape, but I just watched him at LSU, and I was like, man, where's this guy coming from?
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I didn't even see that kind of level of talent until his senior year at
well, that's
LSU.
what I'm saying. He again, you get a guy like out at LSU,
but I think this is why. So many good receivers on that roster at the time, and really not a great down the field passing game.
Landry, Odell, and they haven't had a quarterback for a while either.
Tennessee too. So
yeah,
but yeah, I would say on offense, OBJ, just if you were making in a lab making the perfect wide receiver. I mean, he's not the tallest guy, but the route running, the speed, the hands, you can't make him better. What about you?
TB12.
TB12
all day, every day.
You can't really argue. I mean. So
he's the best ever.
Let's talk about this. So is he's the
best
GOAT
ever.
He's the GOAT.
Best ever.
I can't really argue it. I was talking about this with my dad when I was back home. How do you really argue it at this point?
You can't.
I mean, a lot of I don't want to say old timers, but a lot of people that were older than we are that saw Joe Montana play and the perfect record bring that up. But I mean, he had some Hall of Famers.
But you got to look at the body of work he's done when it's
Two
back
pla-
against the wall.
2 plays, and Tom Brady's 7 for 7 in the Super Bowl. You take 2 plays away from him. You take the Tyree catch and the I don't know who it was, but the tiptoe sideline catch.
Oh,
the same
Mario Manningham.
Mario Manningham catch. You take those 2 away, and this guy's 7-0 in Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So
And they've both been against Eli.
Both, and the craziest thing, Eli is so up and down, but whatever it is, when he gets on a hot streak, bro.
Rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
But no, Tom it's
hard to argue.
Well, I respect him, and I've told this story a lot. I won't dive into it, but I just respect his work ethic.
Yeah.
Being 199 and obviously the 30 for 30 on
crazy story.
But he just, talking about playing with a chip on his shoulder, he does. And I was listening. I watched something on Facebook, like a video of Boston fans, and it was a Patriots kind of like fan thing. It was like 7-8 minute video of just kind of through the years and through the Super Bowls and who he had. And, they said, I think Rodney Harrison was saying, it was one game, I don't know if it was Super Bowl or not, but they were like, hey, we're going to win this game. And he was like, yeah, I know I think they'd just gotten a stop, or they'd kicked the field goal tight, and they left too much time on the clock. It was like a minute and a half. And they're like, and either Rodney or the teammate said something along the lines of, we're going to win this game. And Rodney's like, really? He said, yeah. He said, we got Tom. We got number 12 on the side.
Right.
And like to have that respect from like veterans like that and like future Hall of Famers like that is like, you got to tip your hat to him.
Have to.
The guy is,
regardless if you like him or not,
and he shows up on the biggest stages. Now,
not only that he shows up on the biggest stages, this guy's doing it every single week. You saw it last week.
Yeah,
this guy is
people. It was the video also showed when I don't know if you remember this, and I didn't. It was 2 or 3 years ago. They were going to bench him. There was talks like bench him because he had such a iffy, but he had injuries, but he had like an iffy year, and he was throwing picks, and then all of a sudden he's in the Super Bowl, and they
were talking about
the Seahawks.
Well, we played against. So we were at Tennessee Tech. We played against Jimmy Garoppolo, the backup for the Patriots right now. And there were talks even as far back as either last year or 2 years ago. They were talking about you're going to bring Garoppolo in and give him some snaps because Tom had, like you said, had some injuries, and Garoppolo had and he was suspended for a little bit.
Yeah,
and Garoppolo had played okay. He had played well, but I think that's more a Bill Belichick thing than anything. But yeah, the guy is so unbelievably competitive. And I think you have to be at that level. I mean, the Michael Jordans you hear about, like, you have to be that competitive.
Yeah. No,
and
his work ethic is...
You hear about his teammates always talking about Tom just being the coolest guy as far as, like, being one of the boys as well.
Well, he has that intangible that you can't...
you can't measure it. You're right.
He's just a winner.
A winner, and you guys, I'm sure at this point have seen the story. You got to check out Tom Brady's story. It's amazing, this guy.
Yeah, 30 for 30 is nice.
Yeah, so he's the
199,
ultimate.
I think is what it's called.
Yeah, 199, and even
I'm 5 other quarterbacks.
I'm a T. Martin guy too, and T. Martin was So that's a crazy story. That's a good pick. It's hard to beat out a guy like Tom Brady. And you know what? Tom Brady's still Tom Brady, but I don't know if the Patriots are still the Patriots at this point.
Oh, they're all right.
I think they're good, but I mean
They're good.
He's
they're
good.
Okay.
He's good.
I think their defense is suspect.
Yeah, and they have been in the past, but I also think that for whatever reason, Tom Brady, he's not going to be Tom Brady for forever. I think it's coming toward that time where he's going to, and he preserves himself well, but that offensive line has been his biggest friend for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not, it's starting to kind of not fall apart, but it's that transitional period where you got to get new guys in, and you can't really do that with a quarterback that's aging. And I'm not saying this year, but at some point we're going to see, and it's going to be sad because that's our generation's GOAT.
That's the guy.
When he goes, but hey, I'll leave it for there because he's still balling. I'll give him his credit. I'm not a big Tom Brady guy as far as it's not even that I don't like him because the dude's got a model wife, which can we talk about how hot his wife is?
She's nice. Giselle.
She's nice. Did you guys hear that? She's not. She
Being
is
humble.
Well, okay, but he's got, the hottest wife, whatever. He's got, all these endorsement commercials, all this. Usually when you see a lot of that outside of football and outside of any sport, I'm a big MMA fan right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I've over the past 3 or 4 years really become a big MMA fan. You see a lot of guys that don't dedicate all their time to that. And same with football and any sport. You start to lose that edge and you start to fall off. You start to not be that guy anymore. And Tom Brady seems to, however way he can.
Well, that's what they were saying in that video. It's just like he's been playing with a chip on his shoulder ever since he left Michigan.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if he's got no Hall of Famers or every Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He's the same. And it goes back to, like I said before, about the mentality. I think it's a mental thing. I mean, he's so mentally strong. You ever see Tom Brady get not fired up,
I
but
was gonna
super
say,
upset.
yeah,
I mean,
no, he's not. He's not. Yeah,
But
you
there's
can
something
see
that
he
gives
gets
me-
a fire for sure.
It gives
but it's
me
not.
chills when he gets fired up because
Oh,
he
yeah.
doesn't do much. He doesn't do it much.
Well, you
but
hear
when he does, you're like,
yeah,
you're like, oh
you,
shit.
you- that,
okay.
that's what I mean. You hear it's Psycho Tom or whatever, but that's what football and that's how I play the game.
Yeah.
There's some people that don't. My little brother, he's a football and baseball player right now in high school, is the most even keel. I couldn't tell if he just lost his dog and his family and is living on an island by himself, or he just won $5 million and is going to go. You can't tell with the kid.
Yeah.
And it's something I talked to my dad about. Is I think it's so good that he's like that because it's going to help him out so much in life as far as outside of that and inside of it.
Yeah.
Because me and my dad are the same way. We're very high strung on some things, and other things we're fine. But it's just like when you get so passionate about something, I can't really contain it, and it's just it is what it is. But for him, they're a smaller school, but they've been to the state championship the last couple of years. And I talked to him about it. He's like, yeah, we went to the state title, and I'm like, I'm excited for him, but like he just talks about it like he just
so casually.
Right? He's like, oh, we went, whatever. But no, yeah, Tom's a good pick. What about on defense? What you got?
Gosh, defensively,
if you say anybody from Alabama, I'll reach across here and slap you right now. Don't say no Landon Collins. Don't say Landon Collins just because I said Eric Berry.
That was the first one in my head.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh gosh, defensively, I'm not a huge defense. I don't know. I gotta think.
Look at you being the prima donna wide receiver, man.
Well, I gotta think about.
Look at you, man.
I gotta think about. I can't even think about the teams or defense. I don't know. Who's the player for the Raiders?
If you say the punter.
No,
I'm gonna have to ask you to leave, sir.
Not the punter. No, the D lineman or linebacker.
I got Bruce Irvin.
Dude from
I like
Buffalo.
the way he plays.
Dude from Buffalo.
Dude from Buffalo. Oh, Khalil Mack.
Khalil Mack.
He's nice.
That's that dude.
Yeah, he for sure is that dude.
Oh no, Khalil Mack or Von Miller.
I was gonna say Von Miller is that guy.
I think he's probably one of my favorite. Yeah, just watching him, dude. He plays with a motor all the time.
Do you think I'll give you this? And do you think that this Myles Garrett kid is going to be he doesn't play with that same motor? But do you think he can be that good?
No,
because I've been watching that kid for a long time.
I think there's a difference. Von Miller plays, like I said, with
the motor.
There's a speed. There's a different speed.
He's and you can't teach it either.
No,
because Myles Garrett has all the physical talent that Von Miller has.
Yeah,
but that motor's not the same. At least not right now.
And
Who
maybe
knows?
Again, maybe a maturity thing. He's a rookie.
That was just one of the biggest knocks on him coming out, and I didn't know.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
And another thing, like I said, I talked to my buddy Marty a lot. He's huge in the NFL, and he's the type of guy that you could. I text him sometimes, hey, where'd this guy go? He's like, he went
encyclopedia.
He went to this college.
Yeah.
I think he's 3rd round pick out of here. And I'm like, how
right? How do you just keep that all in your head?
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, thanks. Now I
appreciate
know that.
it. Yeah,
I always feel really accomplished when I stump him. I'm like, you know where he went? He's like, no. I was like, this place. He's like, really? I was like, yeah.
You just be doing it now to get him.
Oh,
You're just like looking up Joe Blow from Meatloaf.
I'm not looking him up, but if I've heard it and I'm not sure if he has, I'm like, hey, you know where he went? And he's like, who? Where? I was like, there he goes. Seriously?
Just getting some dude from Meatloaf Tech.
I got to. Yeah. I like stumping him, but no, I think Von Miller. And it's really cool too. I don't know if you noticed or knew this, but he hosted a D-end camp this summer.
Okay.
And he invited other D-ends in the NFL to kind of help each other out with like different moves they do. So it'd be almost like us doing like a receivers camp with everybody in the OVC. Hey, this is what I've been doing. This is one of my favorite moves. What are your favorite moves? And it's almost like it's kind of on that edge that the guys were thinking about, like, why are you? He's an open book. He's like showing them his moves he's gonna do.
Yeah.
But
he's got some nasty moves.
Oh yeah. I think it was actually perceived really well because I think a lot of the guys, from what I saw on like a little clip of it, was they took it really cool. Like Shane Ray was there, and
Shane Ray is dirty in his own right.
Different DNs and different pass rushers were there, and they just enjoyed it to kind of learn, and just Vaughn kind of hosting it himself and getting kind of some publicity for it, which I thought was really cool. So,
well, no, you think about guys, and we talk about our kind of experience, and what our knowledge of the game, and it's so minuscule compared to guys in the NFL that know so much more about the ins and outs of every single position because they've done it, and now they've coached it, and now they're bringing it to a different level than we've ever seen. So we can sit here and talk about what we know all day. I bring in somebody like Von Miller or Peyton Manning, and my brain will explode.
Yeah. No,
you know,
we just
know
we're
this.
listening. Now we're
No.
wanting to learn from them.
No, for sure. And hopefully, this podcast, for what I want it to be, one day gets to be that where I can bring someone in that, and it's all about this. Like, I'm learning so much from every single podcast I do.
Yeah.
And just to be able to have people in that can help, me learn things and to where I can understand better and speak more to that, And, one day, hopefully it gets there. But just the difference from casual fan to people that played at a certain level to, oh, these guys do this for a living. It's so much different than people realize. Like, even people in the media that really, break down the game, and it's their job.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just a different level of, and I understand sometimes when players get frustrated with people because, like, yeah, it looks like this. It looks like I didn't do this XYZ right. But there's so much that went into that play, or went into that decision that you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I never, if someone does make a mistake, and we've been there, it is what it is, but I never try to jump down on somebody. And like I said with the Butch Jones thing, I never try to take one game out of context because it is what it's that one game,
Exactly.
But now, that's a good pick. I like that pick.
So I got to ask you this.
What's up?
Should the playoffs be expanded?
The NFL playoffs?
No.
NCAA
college.
Playoffs.
Would you like to see 8?
Okay, so there's two things on this. There's two ways of looking at it, and it's the same for the NFL. What would I like to see versus what's better for the game?
Okay.
As fans, you want to see as much football as you can. You don't want football season to end because, and this is no knock on anything else, but after football season's over, it's pretty much NBA or you're waiting until football season comes back.
Yeah.
And that's not a knock on any sport. It's just the way I feel.
Well, it's your preference.
Yeah, it's my preference.
As a sports fan.
So if you can do it with that, you're never going to get a perfect playoff system in college football. It's 4 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Could you go to 8?
I think you got to go to 8.
I think 8 would be the good number.
I think you got to go to 8.
Or maybe do this. Yeah. Go to 8. 2 buys? Are we saying 1 and 2 get a bye?
I would say, I haven't thought about this. This is more just bouncing ideas. But, I think you go to 8, but I think you maybe shorten the season.
To what?
12 games.
I could see that. I like that.
Or 11,
Yeah.
Obviously, there's money games that you still want to have, but
money games. Talk about money games, though.
There's money games you want to have,
Those
but at
playoffs?
the same time, like the playoffs would be kind of the extra games at the end.
They would make up that difference for sure.
They wouldn't need to, January 2nd to January 9th. They wouldn't need to, or January 1st. They wouldn't need to go to like January 16th or like beginning of February. Like
I just don't think you take as much time off. That's because right now in the NCAA, I don't know what it is, but it's after that first playoff game, those guys take a while off before that championship game. You know what I mean?
Oh no, it's a week.
Is it not? Is it not like
January 2nd to January 9th?
Okay, so they take off a lot of time before.
Yes,
okay.
Up until
So
they
that's
have
what I'm
like
saying.
a month.
Eliminate that time, and you could still have that same.
Yeah, take a game out, but have a game before.
Right, and you don't want players obviously missing holidays and things like that. But it's one of those things you just got to work around.
Yeah. I just think that would be a good idea.
I think eight's the right number, but again, you can never be perfect with it. And number 9 and 10 will always have a beef.
We'll play better.
I understand.
Now it's expanded to 8. There's double the amount of teams that can be in the playoff.
Question for you: with the 8 teams, what are we doing? Are we doing power conference teams and then a couple of at-large bids?
I think obviously you got to go with record.
Okay,
clearly.
Yeah.
But I think you got to look at like the Western Michigans last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think you got to take them into consideration. Who was the team that Houston?
Didn't they get bodied in their bowl game? Though?
Houston?
No, Western Michigan.
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure
I can't remember.
Who
But
knows?
Houston, Houston goes in as a non-power 5
Yeah.
an American and knocks the snot out of Florida State
Mm-hmm.
with Dalvin Cook, with Francois. I mean, now was Florida State wanting to play? Who knows? I mean,
so this is what's going to happen, and you're going to get this with every team. Not only these at-large teams that are not Power 5 like American teams, and Louisville's always that one kind of team that's around in the ACC. But if you don't win your conference and you're still that 11-1 team, or you're that 10-1 team, but you just missed that one, and you're in the same bracket as the other team that won it, like an Auburn and an Alabama. Auburn loses one game, it's Alabama.
Yeah, I mean,
do they get that at-large bid?
It's tough. I mean,
Exactly.
It would obviously be tough, but
that's where your beef comes.
But again, it kind of goes to the don't lose.
Yeah,
and it may come again at the time of like don't lose at the wrong time.
Yeah,
I mean, the end of the season is the toughest
Tough.
part. But you got to keep winning. You got to finish it. You got to.
Well, this gives leeway for those teams too. A 4-team playoff, you have no leeway.
No,
you can't lose.
No, you can't lose. And you're going to lose. You got to lose
early.
now.
Early.
Lose now. Work your way back up.
Yeah.
Hope other people lose.
So that's true.
I mean, that's the only way. I mean, 8. I think 8's perfect. I think 8 would be. I mean, 9 and 10. I mean, you look at it though. The 9 and 10 teams, or the number 9 and number 10 teams. Do you think they really deserve a chance?
It just depends, man. It depends on the conversation. It depends on if 9 and 10 were right there with 7 and 8, and you can't really make that distinguish on who was better. Other than the fact that
it would get tricky if like we'll just use the SEC. If like an Alabama was, if they were ever like a 6 or a 7, had lost to Tennessee early in the year, and then Tennessee lost late. Tennessee was 9, Alabama was 8.
Yeah. Or you get a team
Tennessee beat them, but they're not ranked higher. Like, how does that,
Or you get a team like a Houston or somebody like, Central Michigan, whoever, that loses a game to one of these Power 5 teams, and loses it late or loses it early in the year, but has a bunch of blowout wins over nobodies.
Yeah.
It's a hard case to make for that team to say, hey, you know what? But they didn't pick their opponents. But to go, hey, you know what? You got beat by 30 by one of these Power 5 teams early in the year. Your team's not developed. You don't know where you're going to be at the end of the year. But then you come back and wash everybody, and you're 11-1.
Well, it sets up for a kind of a March Madness style.
It does,
which is kind of what it may have to be, because I think it's settled into a system now like March Madness. If you're out, you're out. If you're in, you're in.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's just kind of the way it is. That now they rank based on strength of schedule and who you've played and your big wins, which obviously would take into consideration also, but. I just think you would be. It would be a really good thing for. It would take all the gray area out.
Yeah, it would at least take most of it out, because again, that beef that I'm talking about, exactly, and it'll be a 2-week thing where teams will get mad.
There's gray areas for the March Madness. I mean, you got teams that didn't make it that maybe should have. They're on the bubble. They were always on the bubble, but then or different seeding aspects of it. So it's a different system and storyline there, but at the same time it's all relative. But I think it would eliminate a lot of the gray area. I think it also would give other teams maybe chances.
Yeah, of course it would. I mean, and it gives you, like you said, a better shot to see teams that you wouldn't regularly see match up in different matchups that would make a March Madness type feel.
Yeah, or teams that are like during going into March Madness riding a high, like they're on a roll. But if there's only 4 and they're on a roll and they're ranked 6th, they're not getting a chance.
Right.
But if they're on a roll and they're kind of on the bubble as 8, and then maybe a team loses, and all of a sudden, they can make a run.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like March. I mean, it is. I mean, you look back at the best example recently was UConn when they had Kemba Walker. I mean, no one picked a 13 seed to go all the way, and they just rode a high. They just got hot and they played well and just got in and then got the job done because they were given a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what, again, we go back to the passion of collegiate sports, and they're just playing to play. And there's nothing better, and I'll to the day I die say there's nothing better than collegiate sports. Like when the team has momentum, you
can't stop it.
No, it's just a different feeling. You get a different feeling as a fan.
Well,
I've heard people feel the game coming along like that. And
I've heard people talk about
but
like that same feeling on an individual level being compared to a team level, just like a shooter being in the zone.
Yeah,
it's on that same kind of level to where you don't really know how to describe what's happening, but when a team collectively comes together and plays that way, I mean, you see it all the time. You've seen it with the Giants making wild card runs to the Super Bowl. You've seen it with, baseball teams making a run late in November. You see it all the time, and you can't really explain it because these guys, number-wise, it doesn't make a lot of sense that this guy's hitting 300 all of a sudden. It doesn't make a lot of sense this guy's catching balls he was dropping in week 1, but it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my 2 things about the college football playoff. 8 teams. And you've got to get some former players or coaches on that committee, on that playoff selection committee. You have to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not to say that the 4 teams they're picking are always wrong, but to leave out a team like a Penn State last year, to leave out just different teams that do even a USC that lost early in the year and was coming on and could have, I think, at that point beaten anybody. If you're going to the best 4 teams in the country at that time, and I was a West Coast guy for a little bit and no bias, but they were playing better, I think, than anybody, and I think they gave Alabama the best, the closest, other than Clemson, the closest matchups problems they could have had.
Penn
State or USC at that point, and it's just
Alabama
one of those things.
The first game.
That's what I'm saying. At that point, they had gotten smashed, But toward the end of the year, no one wanted to see them.
No, they were too hot. They were the two.
That was
Besides
what we were talking
Alabama
about.
and two of the hottest teams going in, and then that's when they played each other. It was one of the greatest games in the bowl games that they had last year. So
that's another thing. You got to get some guys that at least know a little bit about what we're talking about teams that are really coming on and who was the best team at that moment. Not who was the best team in week 3, you know what I mean? So
I agree.
But yeah, man, that's the beauty of college football. We can sit here and talk about it all day and, differing opinions, just with anything, different opinions, but we're going to tune in next Saturday and we're going to watch just like everybody else is, you know what I mean?
Saturday and Sundays are for football.
That's what it is.
For me, I mean, the fall is the best time of the year.
Absolutely.
Nothing better.
No. Let's get into this. So, outside of kind of and this is our college football podcast, but I just like having Elon just to chat with him because we don't get to catch up too often. We do live closer now, so that's good.
Yeah.
But obviously you've been doing the golf thing lately. Other than that, what have you been into as far as I know you won your last couple tournaments.
Yes.
Just talk to me a little bit about kind of what's your path is going.
Okay,
where you're going.
Pretty simple. I mean, I've been doing it for about a year now. Done 2 Q schools, Latin America and Canadian Tour Q schools.
So when you say Q schools, these are
qualifying tournaments.
Yeah, these are like qualifying tournaments to get to the next level of what you're doing.
On a status is what we call it. So, and I can break it down. So, if people always ask, well, how do you turn pro? Like, how does a
exactly? That's where I'm getting to.
So anybody could turn pro.
Okay.
If you want to turn pro for golf tomorrow, you could go do that. You can go play an event tomorrow. That one of the ones that I play in. You could go play. You could pay your money, and you forfeit your amateur status.
You don't want to do that.
So, do you want to go pay X amount of money to try and win X amount of money?
Right.
And I'm not bashing your game.
No,
but your golf game.
No,
would you see your returns?
No, absolutely.
So that's where people aren't sure if they want to do it or not, and if you do, then you give up your amateur status. But I mean, it's a fun gig. I mean, it's fun to play for money like that,
sure.
and get money back when you play well. But the mini tour life is it's tough.
Would you akin it, and not to cut you off, would you akin it to being in the minor league baseball system?
That's exactly, it's very similar, and that's how I kind of explain it to people that don't really understand it.
Right.
So in minor league and MLB, the way that it works is you have your MLB at the top, which is kind of like the PGA Tour. Well, I'll start at the bottom. So mini tours right here. So you got single A ball. So mini tour, single A ball. AA for baseball. RAA would be Canadian or Latin tours. AAA is European or web.com, and then obviously the bigs and the majors is PGA Tour. So that's how it works. You can work your way up. You can obviously Monday qualify into maybe into a web event if you wanted to. If you wanted to do that, you have to it's a 1-day qualifier. They're really hard to do, but so that's how you catch lightning in a bottle sort of thing, where you can get, again, like we said in football, you can just get hot and play well, and all of a sudden just ride the wave, and just who knows. So I having played football, I've only done this for about a year now.
So you're still kind of getting used to this whole thing.
Getting used to it, learning how to travel. Gaining experiences. I mean, I have a lot of buddies. Tom Lovelady just got his tour card on the web.com. He's going to be playing the PGA Tour. Smiley, I went to high school with Smiley Kaufman. He's been on it. He won. I got another really good buddy,
Smiley's a beast.
Michael Johnson. He went to Auburn, and he's on the web.com also now. So there's guys that I look up to, and I'm always chasing them and wanting to be just like them, because that's how we grew up, and that kind of keeps the fire in me. But it's tough.
No, for sure, because a lot of people don't see, and I'm sure a lot of guys that are on the tour have gone the same route.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, and it's just with any sport, you don't see that.
No, you don't ever see the background. You see the glorious of, like, hey, you get to go play golf every day.
Like, oh, that dude's on, whoever's playing the Masters, winning the Masters. But you don't see that 10 years, that 5 years of work that guy put in, traveling, doing those things.
I mean, I've heard countless stories of Russell Knox, that he's a player on the tour, he's a Srixon guy. He missed Q school for Webb 7 years in a row, 7 times. There's all sorts of things. Justin Rose, I feel like one of his was like he missed a cut like 2 years in a row or something. Like just missed. I had consecutive missed cuts. Like Henrik Stenson had to redo his swing because he got the shanks.
That's so
and now
crazy.
You look at Henrik Stenson, like he was going to give up the game.
And that's at the top level, man.
Yeah. But it's just, I look at it as, they had 4 years of golf and I had 4 years of football. So I'm trying to bridge that gap and catch up and get experience. But it's games coming around nicely. It's really cool. So the next things I got some mini tour events coming the next couple months.
Yeah.
But Latin Q School will come up in January again.
Nice.
So I'm going to go do that and pursue that and get some status and just get it going and be able to travel in some Latin American countries, which will be fun.
That's awesome.
So, and obviously the ultimate goal is to work your way up. I did not do W.A.D.E School this fall. It's already started.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I just talked to my parents about it and want to, again, get some more experience. Not sure if we want to throw that amount of money at it right now because it's a one and done thing.
Yeah.
If you don't make, there's 4 stages. There's pre-qualifying, first, second, and then there's final stage. So there's 4 different levels you got to work your way up, and the field gets better and better and better.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say it's not been done because it's been done, but if you don't make it through pre-qualifying and you just maybe have a bad 1 or 2 days, you're out X amount of dollars, and you got to wait a whole another year to do it again. It's a tough thing. I mean, there's a lot of glam and glory to it when you've made it.
Absolutely.
And I heard this from guys I played with the other day. They said they played with Kevin Kistner a lot.
Okay.
Robert Streb. And they said he's a great guy, but he said he told them it's the hardest thing to get to. It's the easiest thing to play.
Yeah.
Because it's so hard to get up there. I mean, you got guys wanting to do it, and it's so competitive now.
Yeah.
But it's all the courses are pure. I mean, they're hard. You got to be good.
Yeah.
But all the courses are pure. You're not going to have, sandy fairways or punch screen. I mean, the courses are pure. The
stuff I'm used to playing.
The bunkers are raked. The fairways are lush. The rough is the rough. I mean, there's water and stuff, but the courses are unbelievable.
I'm sure.
And that's just because they're going to get
you're at
millions of dollars.
You're at that top level.
So,
well, no, man, it's awesome. I have no doubt that, and again, you are catching up, but man, you're making up ground quick from what I know. And I'm not in the sport and I'm not there, but just, seeing you and talking to you and I can see that, that passion that I have for doing this podcast is there with you and your golf, and the talent's there, man. And it's just, I understand golf's a super mental game.
Got to be patient.
Got to be
anything
patient
in life. Sometimes it hits you in the face.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I my first Latin Q School, just for a little story, I think the cut was 2 under. If you get some sort of status, was 2 under, and I was 1 over after 3 days, and knew I had to kind of shoot a good score on the final round and come out and make 8 straight pars. And my last hole, which was my 18th, or my 9th hole, was my 18th hole. My back 9 was actually the front 9. I've told this story before. I make 1 bad swing, I dunk in the water, I make double. Yeah. And I couldn't get anything going early. Just couldn't get any momentum. Not that I played bad. I just, you need a putt or 2 to drop to be like, okay, let's go. There you go. That's what you needed. And, and then you look back, you're like, gosh, 1 swing. Now, would I have played, if I make par, do I shoot 3 under on the back or what? But there's definitely still a chance.
Changes the whole momentum.
Yeah. So it's just fun. You look at, all the tournaments where it's been really close down the stretch. You look at the 1 shot. Now, not that these guys are going to be, their careers are going to be drastically changed because of 1 shot, but it definitely, you look at like Spieth at the British Open, like Matt Kuchar didn't lose that tournament.
Right.
I mean, Jordan Spieth won that golf tournament. When Matt Kuchar, I believe I read a stat, he was 3 under his last 5 holes, and he lost with the lead because Spieth went like 5 under his last 6.
It's crazy.
I mean, he didn't lose it, and again, it goes back to the mental toughness of Spieth and staying in the moment. And like you said, it's in the zone. Like, you go from hitting it 150 yards right into the driving range, getting a ruling for 23 minutes, settling down, getting up and down, making par, and then the next hole you almost hole out for a hole-in-one on that par 3, make birdie. Then you drop the bomb on the next hole for eagle. I mean, all of a sudden, it's just sports. Just you get that momentum.
It takes over.
It's crazy, but yeah, I mean, it's golf's fun. It's fun to be a professional golfer, but it's not, it's just like any sport. There's no pretty side to it. If it's not all pretty, I mean, you see the guys.
Well, they don't see you, and I know this personally just because I know you, really well. They don't see you out at 5, 6 a.m. on the range, just smacking in the rain, whatever it is.
Because it's in the rain, you got to practice everywhere.
Because that's your element. You never know if you get out on that course.
And those that don't know, that aren't super into the golf or followed enough, but like my cousin living down here, she didn't realize. She's like, "Well, do you play in the rain?" I was like, "Yeah, I got to play in the rain." Like, if it's too much rain, then of course it's unplayable. But the only time we're not playing is if it's lightning, or there's frost, or it's too wet.
Or go ahead and give me 50-mile-an-hour winds. Oh yeah, I still got to go out there.
It's nature.
You know what I mean? Like that's, and you don't get to decide that. And so that in turn, develops, or that affects your game.
Yeah.
And, like I said, people, it's so hard.
It's fun because it's not, and sports is very similar, but like you said, like you can kind of get into a rhythm and routine with football.
Yeah.
Golf's a little different because it's not a traditional job, because you could go outside and every day is different.
Yeah.
I mean, you could wake up one day and have a tee time, at 8:30 and it's 60 degrees and a little wind. And then the next day your tee time's in the afternoon and it's 90 degrees because the sun comes out and there's no wind and it's dead and you're, sweating bullets, and it's just a different everything, different mentally, different patience, different. Every day is just different, and you got to almost play. I mean, you hear it a lot saying they're playing the golf course, not everybody else, and it's just the truth. So it's good stuff.
No, I think that a lot of it is going to turn out to be. You got, I just, and not to put any pressure on Neil, but you guys are going to be seeing Neil Gannaway in a long time and playing that
Fingers
sport.
Crossed. Appreciate it.
No worries, brother. But yeah, man, it's one of those things where, and just to add kind of my perspective on things, I'm really big into my fitness. Like I really like being physically fit and doing a lot of things like that. And I'm starting to take a lot of jiu-jitsu now and getting choked out left and right, which, maybe for another day, but I really want to talk MMA with you, anybody else, just because I'm so into it right now. But I can be as physically fit as I want and, grip it and rip it trying to play golf. And I am so terrible. And it's because I have no, training, no anything. And a lot of people think I'm just going to get out there and swing this club and this ball's going to go where I want it. There's so much more to hitting. And it's so crazy to me because I consider myself a decent athlete, and even superior athletes at the highest level.
Football, you're not bad.
Right? I consider myself to be like someone that can do things in different sports, not just in football or whatever. But when you go outside of that zone, that thing that you've always done, and I'm experiencing it now with jiu-jitsu, and anytime that I go outside of that, and I think it's very important, and this is not only a sports thing, but I think it's a life thing. I think it's very important to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And make yourself that way, not to just fall into uncomfortability. Like
it's how you learn to be an individual yourself.
Yeah.
It's how you learn kind of, you hear it in football. You learn what are you made of?
Yeah.
You're going to fight or flight.
Yeah. And I think, going out and doing those things, and especially like you're saying, practicing the rain, doing all those things, it is so crazy to me that a person can hit a ball and put it and be 300-400 yards away and put it exactly where they want it, 2 shots, and be that close to a little round hole, and to be able to put it in and it look like just a regular guy going to the supermarket.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing with me is I was like, man, I'm such a better athlete, blah, blah. And again, when Wade was a younger guy, he was a super cocky, thought he could do everything guy. But
that's how it was for me. Like for my first tournament, my first collegiate tournament, for golf, I'll never forget it. And I tell this story. It's really funny. So we played in Iowa, Oregon, Wisconsin, and Northern Iowa, and anywhere between 95 to 50,000 people. And my first collegiate golf tournament, there was me, my group, 2 other guys, and then the group that was behind us, we actually had double teed. So there's 6 total, me included, and a mom watching us.
Right.
And I've stepped up and hit this tee shot on not really a hard hole. And I had to turn around and tell my buddy Mitch, I said, tell me a joke. I got I'm like nervous. I can't breathe.
Tell me a joke.
I was like, I got to just like cut the tension or something like
right. No.
It was just a different experience. I mean, like with football, you get that rush of anxiousness and butterflies, like you're mentioning. With golf, I was like, oh my God, like there's no one. I'm in Martin, Tennessee.
Yeah.
No one gives a flying, who's out here watching.
Right.
But I'm nervous as all get out as hell. I can't take the club back.
No.
So, but it becomes with, like you said, being uncomfortable and learning how to do it. It's always funny. I was like, Dad, I couldn't. I had to tell a joke. I couldn't even. Shit was scary.
No,
I had the
man.
scaries.
It is. That's what the craziest thing is. When I get in those, even dude, I can go to a public range and just if there's anything around me and I'm on the tee box, you've seen me play. I don't pick that driver up at all. I'm terrified.
No, there's a lot of people that don't.
And I just put it right back in the bag and hit me a nice little shot that goes straight.
Get it in play.
Get me going.
Yeah.
But you don't have that option, man.
No, you got to go hit it.
Nerves of steel, and that's props to golfers, man, because I can never get up on that tee box with people snapping cameras, which will happen.
Well, it's just funny. My coach always says, my coach now down here in Australia, or from Australia, he's down here in Orlando. he always says, all you're asking for is a chance on the back nine to win a golf tournament. When you get that feeling of having a chance to win a golf tournament on the back nine, like staying on the 10th tee, there's no better feeling because it's just what you worked for.
Yeah.
You've done all the preparation. Now it's, can you win it on the back nine?
Yep.
So
it's exactly that. Is you put a lot of preparation into things so that moment isn't
it's not big. It's not too big, but you definitely learn from experience of how to do it and how to cope with that. And once you've done it before, and
that's so important to learn because we're both dealing with it outside of things, outside of golf, outside of sports and everything else. Like we're two guys that are 24, 25, 23 years old, around that age, and and this is, I think, really important for people that are listening that don't have it figured out, that aren't completely, set at this point in our lives. And we're still young, but
Absolutely.
At this point, you want to know, you want to get on that you need to find out where your path's headed.
Yeah, you want to set goals. You want to have an idea. Life happens.
Yeah.
I know with you especially, different things happen. I mean, with me, I've been lucky enough right now to kind of have the correct path.
Yeah.
Not per se maybe correct, but it's been kind of in front of me. But
you got a map. You know where it's going.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely different things that have happened in the last year or two that changed kind of my, stuff. But it's just different. But yeah, like you're saying, just don't be discouraged.
No,
stick with it. I think whatever you're doing, find something you like to do, find something that you enjoy, and like you said, you're passionate about. If you don't have that butterfly, you don't have that feeling every morning when you wake up, like, I want to go do this. Like, let's go do it. It's probably not what you need to be doing.
It's not for you.
No.
Go do something else. Because I talked about this on the first podcast. And I want to talk about it now just because we're about to wrap up, but I wanted to talk about it really quickly. So, and this is just my experience. So I grew up in, like I said, a smaller town in Loudon, and I love my town. I love being from where I'm from. I love all my friends back home. I love all of it. But the people that live in my town usually stay in my town. People that grow up there love the place. They stay there. And I think, and I count myself fortunate, like you said, life happens, but my parents, both of my parents, all of my parents, I consider myself to be lucky enough to have a mom and dad and a stepmom who was the best lady in the world. So I've been raised by a really good group of people, but had to sacrifice a lot, and I'm not the only one. Everybody out there, and that's why I'm saying it, is because a lot of people are going through that, and you get that sense that they did a lot of that for you to be better,
Sure.
for you to take that and say, okay, don't do this, be better than this.
Yeah.
And my dad's personally told me that many times. Like I remember I used to wake up, my dad would have to take me home in the morning sometimes. I'd stay the weekend with him, and he would have to take me home, but he'd also have to be going to work at 2-3 a.m. to go weld. And I remember sometimes I would get up before him, just go to the bathroom, whatever, and I would see him sitting on his bed, and you could tell that he didn't want to go do it.
No.
You could tell that
Some days you're going to have that.
It was every day for him. Because it was, my dad was a great athlete. My dad was probably a better athlete than I am or was. Life happens, but you could tell that he didn't want to go that job.
Yeah.
But my dad is probably the greatest guy on earth because he went and did that job for me, my brothers, and provided for us.
Of course.
And me just seeing that visual of peeking out of my bedroom at 13, 14 years old and looking at my dad and how much he had to sacrifice and how much he didn't want to do that, but he did it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It really taught me a lot about, we were talking about being uncomfortable. It taught me a lot about, you better chase whatever it is you got, and you better take that opportunity and jump for whatever it is that you want in your life. Because whether it's golf, whether it's a podcast, that this thing could never get off the ground and we could have 0 fans and I couldn't care a bit, because it's something I'm so passionate about. And I do think everybody that is supporting us, I don't mean it to be any kind of derogatory or anything like that. I just mean that I'm so passionate about doing this one thing that I could do it for years and never get any traction and still love it.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is my path has had a lot of turns, had a lot of things go on. But seeing him sacrifice and seeing my mom sacrifice when we didn't have, sometimes as much, but again, everybody has their own story.
Mm.
The lady goes back to school in her 30s and gets her degree in really showed me a lot about work ethic, a lot about, the things that your parents are supposed to show you. But it also put me on this, I guess, path and mental fortitude to say, I'm going to make this better for myself, for them, for my brothers, for hopefully my kids at some point.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And like we're talking about being uncomfortable, I think that it's really important, and I'm dealing with it now. And like I said, I don't know exactly where this is going to take me, but I'm so glad that I'm doing it, because I could fail at the next job I get. I could fail at some kind of big, whatever it is, if I try to do something I wasn't really passionate about.
Yeah, it's one of those things you never know unless you try.
Exactly.
And would you be kicking? I mean, it's kind of like with me in the golf. Like I could have gone. I mean, like I said, I have an MBA and I got my finance degree, so I could have
hashtag balling, by the way.
I could have easily gone to go get a job right out of college when I was done. Right. But I always would have had a pit in my stomach. Like, what about the golf? Like, what if the golf?
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, like I mean, who knows? I would. My goal is obviously be on the PGA Tour. I believe I can get there. If it doesn't work out for whatever reason, I got a good backup plan. But I'll know deep down, I can sleep at night knowing I gave it a shot. And I think, knowing you well enough, I knew this would be really cool for you. And like, I think it's awesome. And I got no doubt in my mind that this will get going off, and it's really cool. I mean, the whole setup's really nice.
Yeah, man, I'm trying. I really do like it. So, okay, I'm gonna leak it. We were talking about it before the podcast, and we did the whole sappy thing. Now I'm gonna leak it. So this is a nice set we have, but I dress in all these, to try to. I have this out of my house. This set is in my house, so I'm not gonna front for you guys.
Steve Jobs shit.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna front anymore. Like, this is supposed to be an honest podcast, and I'm gonna be transparent with you guys. This is out of my house.
But it's a testament to you. I mean, to show what you. If you want it, you're going to do it.
Right. And sometimes you're not going to have the perfect setup, and you're not going to have the perfect opportunity. Sometimes that, and again, I'm not on any high horse to tell anybody how to do anything, but you just got to sometimes say, all right, well, where I'm at's where I'm at, and what I got's what I got. But I got enough to do this every single day to make some kind of progress toward that one thing I want to do. You know what I mean? And that's my way of doing it, is just.
You may not like it, but you got to accept it.
No, it's one of those things where, and I heard this from a couple of different people, but I heard it and it resonated with me, and I'm sure, it does with you as well. And everybody knows this, but you got to do things that you don't want to do to be able to do those things you want to do at some point,
Later,
and some people and I had this problem making the differentiation between, am I passionate about this, or is this something I shouldn't be doing because I don't like it, or because at some point this is going to attribute to me being successful, And there's some times where you just flat out don't like things, and it's just not for you. But I would tell somebody that's quit on himself before and really, failed to start a podcast, when I've been wanting to do this since I was a kid, and failed to do it, for a variety of reasons. One just being because I was so afraid of
just
failing.
didn't pull the trigger.
Right. And I want to tell people from, like I said, a person that's been through it, don't quit on something because there are things that come along with that you don't like. Because at some point, regardless if you quit at that point and come back later, that thing's still going to be there, and you got to get over it. Mm-hmm. That's a hurdle you got to get over, So that's part of the reason that, sometimes you just got to, grin and bear it. And especially with the podcast, like, I don't have a lot of resources to get it going, but we're doing it.
You got enough.
And by the time that, hopefully this gets to where I want to get to, there'll be a day where we're not in the house and we're not, sweating our eyes out because it's so hot in here. But it gets there
somewhere.
No, for sure. But let's see, where are we at? I mean, we've been going for a good hour or so. We'll go for about 10 more minutes, and then we'll wrap it up. So yeah, you're doing the golf thing. How about this? Just to completely expose me, because I think this is good for people to don't go crazy. All right, we don't have to put everything out there.
All right.
What is your favorite, I guess, story, or not story, but experience with me in college? What we do that you really look back on and be like, man, that was a fun time.
Oh man, gosh, it was so long ago. I've slept since then. I would say, I don't know, man. Like, you got me on. I really liked when we would, you would just hit us up, like, after practice, whatever. You just hit us up and be like, hey, are y'all in your room? Like, I'm just gonna come up, and like we'd watch The Office, and like you got us on The Office, like. Yeah. And that was what it was all about, like, just being with the football program and the team. But like, you just make those memories and those bonds. But I'll never forget that one day. So we had those two dorm rooms back to back, Connor and I.
Right. Shout out to Connor Maitland, by the way. We keep bringing him up, and I hadn't said his full name. Connor was our boy too, man.
Yeah.
Hope you're doing well, man.
So you would go get. You came in like one night, and you got some fruit from the perch.
Yeah.
And we started watching The Office, and we
Yeah.
were like, dude, I got to go to bed. Like, I got class.
Yeah,
You were like,
yeah.
well, I got class too. I'll go. I was like, all right. We had this one couch.
Yeah.
We had a couch, and we had the 2 TVs, so
Yeah.
we'd play FIFA and then watch The Office.
By the way, before you get going,
Don't
I would
even start.
bro.
It's done.
I would
dead. Stop.
bank this boy.
Nope.
Just some FIFA all day.
No.
No
anymore.
one can touch. If anybody wants to get at me on my Twitter, anything, anybody wants the FIFA work, you let me know.
No. He ain't that good, I promise.
7-0.
It did not. It was like my
Hey.
first game.
Hey. All right.
Anyway, so yeah, you were in there. You came in there. You ate. We watched. We kicked it, and I was like, I got like a class or a quiz or something.
Neil was basically a lot more responsible than I was.
And I forget what happened, but like I did class, and it was like an off day or something, and I think it was like a Sunday night, so we didn't have class on Monday. And I came back in, and you hadn't moved. It was like 1:00. You still sleep on the couch. I think you had gotten to the perch, because you're like, yeah, I went to the perch and got some more food.
You guys have just
got
had
like bags next to the couch. I'm like, dude, if you want to move in, you can move in. Like, you ain't got to pay for your dorm room. Like, I don't know what's going on. You can chill here if you want to. And I was like, how late did you say? It was like till like 3, 4. I don't know. I just kept watching The Office. I was like,
bro, I was just like, you guys like go through your day and have a normal day, and I'm just super just lazy slob. I think it was off season, so we were just kicking it. And I remember it though. I had this thing where I was just, for whatever reason, because one of my best friends to this day, Corey Weber, hopefully I can have him on the podcast too. Guy is his story, if he wants to tell it, amazing story. But yeah,
super good dude.
Super. I mean, probably the nicest guy I've ever met. The actual realest, most genuine human being I've ever met.
Great guy.
And I want to have him on. But he was who I was rooming at the time, and I have a good story about him that I'm going to tell when he comes on. But just back and forth, I was such a nomad, literally just a drifter, and I would just go to whatever dorm room. I just remember so many times, like in college. So for those of you who don't know, Neil and I were pretty good friends. Neil was the guy, like, and out of our class, he was the most one of the most popular guys with pretty much everybody at that point. And so I just remember just tagging along, man. We would go and do things, and there were opportunities for me that, and when I know you, I'm super outgoing. Like, I'll be able to talk to you about anything. We just kick it, do whatever. But other than that, sometimes I find it a little bit difficult to be able to go out and just be the guy at a party or whatever it is. And you were kind of that guy that can just, befriend anybody at that point. And I just remember being able to kind of sit back and watch you, and just some of the times just I don't know. For me, it was just fun because you sit back and you watch Neil Daddy, Big 9'5", do his thing wherever we're at.
Stupid.
No,
Stupid
but it's one of those things, man, where for people that grow up and go to college, and again, we're kids. We don't know. I don't know anything. But what I do know is some of the people that I met and some of the things that we did that we'll never be able to speak of on a podcast, but things that just, brought us together.
T-Town, the Iron Bowl.
Dude, T-Town was something else.
That's nice.
Those were your boys, too.
So
we walked
much
up in
fun.
there, and I didn't know how people at T-Town got down, but
It's so much fun.
no, but it was. But yeah, dude, that's what it's about, like you were saying. Those things that we can't ever, that we'll be able to talk about when we're 40, when we're 50, when we have these, sit downs and reunions, and we'll have our other buddies there too. It's just one of those things where we're lucky to not only have met each other, but to have that time in our life, I think it's really important for people that, are on the fence about, making that choice. Cause a lot of people that are our age or younger even have that kind of don't want to go away, for college feel because of the anxiety and the things it brings. If you have that opportunity and you're on the fence about doing it, man, it's an experience like no other to be able to go out and meet people that you don't particularly have anything in common with.
Well, it's the old saying, college is the best 4 years of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard it and, loved it, and it was a lot of fun, but it's true. It's just very true. Like, you had you had responsibilities, but you had very little responsibilities in terms of quote unquote kind of living on your own. Mm-hmm. We had a little more luxurious lifestyle, being the football guys and getting a lot, of privileges, and like again, we were super blessed. We lived a different life than most students. But it's just you just want to go do it. Like if you're on, like you're saying, if you're on the fence about it, just it is literally, there's always something going on. There's a lot of groups you can get involved with. There's people always wanting to meet new people because they may be the same way you're feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, they may not know what to do. They may, because I remember when you were like really shy. And so I was like, all right, this dude's shy. Like, I get it. It is what it is. Like, from a smaller town, like, kind of getting used to this, letting, and again, it's college. Like, you're trying to feel everybody out. Like, you're a freshman.
Sure.
But I mean, my biggest thing is, and you know me, like, I just try to be friends with everybody. I try not to. I like having a lot of friends. And I like just having a good time. Like,
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter. Like, I'm not trying to argue about nothing and get in any arguments or have any beef or anything. And
well, no, you're super. I think that a lot of people, like, you're super down to earth, and you're very, I guess, cordial to so many things that you don't. It's so drama free around you. Like, there's no
it takes
reason
a lot
to be.
For me to,
There's no reason to be, and it almost brings that mood. Like, if someone does have that kind of personality, you will still get along with them because you almost bring that, like, kind of put that
like
to the
happy
side.
Medium. I'm the comedic relief for happy medium.
Right? No, for sure. And it's such a good thing to have because, with me, I'm if I see a personality like that, I'm a little standoffish toward it, and it kind of sometimes hurts either opportunities or whatever it is to meet someone and really get to know them. For me, because I don't want to associate myself sometimes with, and not to say that I'm always the high horse guy. Like, some people just don't like the way I am either.
Yeah.
But you being who you are, it's really good that you can be able to befriend whoever. Because at that point, you brought me along into to people I really never would have been friends with. And I know a couple of people that you were really good friends with that I never would have been able to be friends with just because of the clashing that we would have. So, but yeah, it's really good that. But
you'll never experience that, and again, you'll never learn that if you don't go do it.
If you don't go and get, like we were talking about, get out of that comfort zone and really go, and that's, again, it taught me a lot about that in college. So, but yeah, man, that was our time together. Hopefully a lot more happens for you, man. I'm excited for you. I know that.
Well, you as well.
No, for sure. This thing, hopefully, like we said, it gets somewhere. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. And I'll have you back on. We need to, what we need to do, man? We need to have you on, at least once a month or once a good amount.
I'm here
to be able. I know, man.
I'm trying to be a co-host.
That's what I'm saying.
Vote for me in the comments.
the way to Neil concept.
Nah, it'd just be the W.A.D.E concept.
Just co-hosting for me. No, we'll figure something out because I really do want you to be on, and I think we can always. There's so many topics we can cover as far as, I mean,
of course, yeah.
You guys, he's playing, coy a little bit. He's a smart ass dude. He knows a lot about a lot of things.
We just too much dumb stuff.
A lot of stuff, dude. I have so much knowledge of things that don't matter, that have no relevance. Like, we won't get into it now. Maybe next time. But me and Neil have such a, at least me, such a knowledge of battle rap.
Oh yeah,
and we could talk about that junk for
TV
a good
shows,
amount.
The off.
Yeah, just crazy stuff. But I'm you guys are getting a real treat because Neil's going to be a bigger name than he is right now, and it's not going to take long. So I appreciate my boy for coming on, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
Enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Like you guys know, this is the W.A.D.E concept. Neil, where can they find you? Where are you at on Twitter, Instagram?
I think my Twitter is Neil Gannaway.
Yep.
NeilGannaway, and then I think Instagram same thing. No spaces, no caps. Nothing.
I had to change mine. So you knew Plemiantes.
Oh, I gave you that nickname.
You did. So actually, snap! It comes out. Neil gave me that nickname.
Yeah.
I had to change it because it's just too hard to find.
There's also a dance to it.
Yeah, we won't get into the dance.
No dance.
We're not getting into
that. That's football stuff.
Yeah, that's tech stuff, man. I had to change it because no one. Well, I don't know how many people were looking, but no one could. I had a couple of people tell me they couldn't find it, so I'm at W.A.D.E Plemons now. But yeah, go check Neil out. Get at him. You guys are going to see him, like I said, blowing up in the next couple of years. So thank you guys for listening. This is the W.A.D.E concept. We are debating everything, and we're out. We'll see you guys next time.
Appreciate it. See ya.